One when all of humanity got summoned. Han Jai-woo was just a young doctor on call. The night the world ended, the frozen sea handed soldiers, builders, fishermen, weapons, heaters, food crates, and wide raft platforms to the strong, but to him, it handed 20 women from his hospital and 3 unborn children, carried by 3 pregnant patients and 1 tired young doctor who had not slept in 2 shifts. The White Grave chat called them the weakest clinic group. Before anyone even bothered to learn their names, his system called them protected lives. When his combat triage protocol woke up, he finally understood why a doctor could survive in a world ruled by monsters and armed men. Doctor knows exactly where a body breaks. The ice under his cheek wakes him. Before the cold does, his breath is white. The crack in the deck of the raft runs a hand width from his left boot, splits twice, and ends near the wool blanket where Kang Soon is shivering with her arms around her belly. Salt water sloshes over the lip of the platform every few seconds, the wind off. The open sea has weight, like a wet hand pressing on his shoulders. Somewhere very far, a horn sounds across the water. Closer in, a woman is praying under her breath. Right next to him, somebody is crying, not loud, just steady, the kind of crying a person does when they have been weeping for hours, completely forgetting they were doing it. He sits up slowly because fast movement on cracked ice is how a person becomes a corpse. The raft is about 12 steps long and 8 wide, lashed together from broken hospital decking and a section of the nurse station counter, 4 foam mattresses, and 1 chunk of ceiling tile still smelling like the disinfectant they used last night, which feels impossible because last night he was on call. Now there is no hospital, there is no city, nothing called the mainland that he can see, only ice and gray sea and other rafts in the distance like dirty paper boats. 20 women are spread across his raft in clusters of 2 and 3. He counts them by reflex, sleeping bodies, breathing bodies, shivering bodies. 1 woman is holding her wrist like she sprained it. On the way down, the only man on this platform is Han Jai-woo, who is 27. He has been a licensed doctor for less than 2 years, the youngest person standing right now, and let us be real, that is a massive burden to carry. When they open their eyes, his fingers do not want to stop shaking. He clenches them and they stop the way he taught them to in residency. The first system message floats into his head as plain words, not a user interface panel, just a quiet line, as if a calm older doctor is reading from a chart over his shoulder. Living crew assessment complete. 1 trained physician detected. 20 civilian women detected. 3 unborn lives detected. Protected lives parameter triggered. Medical horde arc route unlocked. Future life blessing route opened. He reads it twice. His pulse does the thing it does when a code blue is called in the next room. He crawls to So-yeon first because pregnant women in the cold lose body heat through more surfaces than the rest of them. Her wrist is cool, her pulse is too slow and too thin. The skin around her mouth has gone a tight gray. She tries to smile when she sees him and her teeth click. She murmurs, "Doctor." She says, soft as if apologizing for being trouble, "Do not call him that." On this raft, he tells her, "Just call me Jai-woo." He calls her So-yeon and lifts, gently tilting her chin to guide her toward the cleanest mattress. Ju instructs the nearest woman, who happens to be Minso, that they are moving soon to the dry corner. Senior nurse Minso has tied her black hair back with a torn strip of her own coat. The coat itself is wrecked, 1 sleeve burned, the buttons all gone, and her nurse scrubs underneath are stained at the knees from kneeling on something Ju would rather not think about. Minso does not waste a second on her own appearance. She slides under Soon's arm before Ju can even finish the sentence, taking the woman's weight off the doctor's shoulder and helping her to the corner. Like she has done this 1,000 times. "Bring the blanket," she calls back to a woman Ju has not met yet. "Don't panic. Walk, don't run. The ice is thin." The second pregnant patient is Baek Yuna, who has the kind of sharp eyes that already know what the doctor is going to ask. Her jaw is heavily bruised and she clearly doesn't want him looking. Ju respects that, looking away to check only the back of her hand for warmth and circulation. Ju gently asks if she is bleeding anywhere out of sight, and she claims not since yesterday. Her voice is steady, but she is lying about the pain in her side, the kind of lie people use to stay upright in front of strangers. Ju lets her keep that pride, directing her where she should sit, and she sits. Han-ji-soo is the third patient, smaller than the other 2 and far gentler. The kind of gentle that has been ground down into a quiet apology. She thanks Ju when he touches her wrist and thanks him again as he moves her closer to the corner. He does not know if she is thanking him or thanking the world for not killing her. Yet still Ju makes a silent note. You see, patients who apologize for existing are always the ones who slip away quietly while everyone focuses on the loud ones. Just sit and rest, he tells her simply. She obeys, her hand covering her belly. It does not move. Troy Haynes sits awake against the broken nurse station. Counter, her glasses are fogged, white coat torn at the hem, hair flat from sea. Spray, she's already pulling small bottles from a half-crushed medkit and lining them up in order, the way she always does in the pharmacy, even when nothing else makes sense. Aspirin is good, she tells Ju without looking up. 2 of the antibiotic vials are cracked and useless, she says, telling him to throw them. We are surrounded by cold. Ju nods, telling her to save what she can. She has already started. Ko-Erin is on her feet, athletic short hair plastered to her forehead with the torn shoulder of her security uniform, showing a long red scrape. Somehow, she has already lashed a broken IV pole into a makeshift hook, watching the edge of the raft like a guard dog. Doctor, she calls out. Then she catches herself and shifts to using Ju. There is something under the ice. On the south side, it is not big but not small either. Ju warns her not to stand directly over it, and she quickly obeys. Erin is the kind of woman who hears instructions. Once Libora sits cross-legged, her hand pressed to the side of her head, fingertips pinched together, as if she is holding an invisible earpiece. It is an old habit from too many dispatch shifts, her eyes flicking around in the focused way of someone listening to 4 conversations at once. The white grave chat is live, she tells Ju, though she has no headset, only the same quiet voice in her head that the doctor does. Group rankings are being posted. We are getting tagged with some pretty nasty names. Meanwhile, Park Nari has not stopped staring at her own hands. She is a third-year medical student. Her oversized hospital coat is wet at the back. She is younger than every woman here except the patients. She wants to be useful but does not know how yet. He moves past her, brushing her shoulder lightly so she remembers her body, and tells Nari to listen. She must stay with Hain, count vials, read labels, and pass him anything that says expired. She blinks twice, nods 3 times, and whispers Mrs. O. the hospital. Cook is the only person on this raft who does not look afraid. She is short, wrapped in 2 layers of kitchen apron over a winter sweater, and she has somehow saved a small steel pot and a wooden spoon. She holds them the way another woman might hold a child. She promises to boil water if they find any clean water. She tells him, he says that is good, and puts her in charge of any food that comes onto this raft. White grave chat opens fully in his head, then a flood of voices that are not voices, scrolling like an old triage board on a busy night. Stronger groups are already boasting. Some military raft is posting weapon counts. The construction crew is up next, posting raft beams. Fishing crew is posting nets and a generator. Restaurant staff are posting food crates. Up next, a university class is posting a working heater. From another channel, a wealthy family is posting a heated cabin. Down the list, prison transport is posting prisoners in chains. Some office team is posting laptops which they will definitely regret. Way down at the bottom, a gang raft is posting weapons in a way that wants to be seen. Numbers and names slide past him like surgical instruments on a tray. None of them are his, then their status posts itself automatically without his permission. Group 27, 1 adult male, profession physician, 20 adult females, all hospital staff or patients. 3 pregnant, combat score lowest in the region, burden score highest in the region, combat rank last, medical contribution untested. The chat does what chats do. Nicknames begin within seconds. Dr. Herm Raft, pregnant burden raft, weakest clinic group, soft hands raft, walking medicine box. Each name lands in his head with the soft thud of a tongue depressor hitting a metal tray. Captain Ryu Dohan posts publicly 30 seconds later. He does not need to look to know his face. Men like him hold the same posture in every hospital lobby. Big shoulders, military jacket, boys trained to fill a room without asking. His message is simple enough that the whole sea reads it at once. Dr. 27, your raft cannot carry pregnant women in a region this cold. Abandon them now. Transfer your senior nurse to his protection. He will accept the remaining women as auxiliary crew, refuse, and he will not be responsible for what happens to their raft when the storm hits. The chat ripples with laughs. 3 luxury rafts up the response. A polite man named Dr. Victor Hale, whom he does not yet know, watches without typing. Some woman whose handle reads as a rich heir's pet Name boosts Ryu's post. Bora's eyes flick up at him, then back to the air. She is already mapping it. He does not answer Ryu, not yet. He learned along time ago that men who broadcast threats want to reply more than they want. Compliance, he turns back to his raft. He checks soon again. Her pulses come up. Slow but real since Mio wrapped her in the warm side of the wool. He checks. Yuna's hand, warmer, Jaisu's breathing, steady air, the first 6 minutes of any. The critical minutes of a medical code are the only ones that actually matter. That is how a doctor finds out who they really are. His sister died on a freezing night. He was 16. The blackout lasted forever and help was far too slow. Her hand was cold. When the ambulance finally arrived, the medic looked right at him and said nothing, silence. At that point, there was absolutely nothing left to say. He clung to her cold hand for an hour, remembering a line from an old book. He was just a child, and books had not lied to him yet. That freezing chill of her fingers is the exact temperature his body still remembers as. The end, the moment he stopped being normal. He shoves that memory deep away and locks it away. No time, never will be. Mano has finished tucking Soon into bed now. She walks over to him silently, ignoring the system's scroll in her head. She whispers quietly, the south side has thin ice and the wind is picking up. They should avoid the cracks. She adds that he has not eaten a thing. He tells her to stop calling him doctor, but she laughs it off as in old habit, smiling slightly. It is that comforting look a nurse gives you. Suddenly, the system speaks again. A paid scan is available at a moderate stamina cost. Proceed, he closes his eyes. The interface opens like a window. He cannot fully see through it. Deep underneath their fragile raft, freezing water moves in silence. A dark, endless space where heavy currents flow beneath the solid ice. Suddenly, the scan hits. A massive cold object rests 40 paces to his left, frozen. In old ice, it is a supply crate with hospital labels on the side. The scan ends, blood drips from his nose, his knees completely buckle under the heavy toll. He drops straight to the deck, but Mo's firm palm catches his elbow in time. Sit down, she orders, not asking. He sits. Her warm hand lingers for 2 extra seconds. Before pulling away, he calls out to Aaron. South side, 40 paces, buried crate. Take Nari and a rope. Move fast, but do not stand directly on the dark patch. Aaron nods once and runs. Nari follows her at a quick jog. Her hair bounces under her oversized coat. Bora drops down beside him, sitting cross-legged. She reports without preamble. 8 other rafts are currently gossiping about them. 2 are mocking them. 1 is betting on how long they will actually survive out here. Another asks if he is single. She says this completely deadpan. 2 smaller rafts are listening in silence. This means they are definitely interested in them. Captain Ryu is on the move. The military raft has changed heading. He is closing in. He tells Bora to ignore the others and watch only Ryu. She nods. Nearby, Hane is already organizing their medicine pile, ranking the vials. She shouts instructions across the freezing raft, telling Nari what to search for in there. Get saline, sterile gauze, and anything sealed. Look for glucose and iron. Grab unopened antibiotics. Get heat patches. Mrs. O prepares her pot. She has filled her steel pot to the brim with snow scraped from the cleanest side. She is testing if it melts clean. Suddenly, the ice cracks right under Aaron's heavy boot. Exactly where the system showed him, she instantly throws her weight back. A trained reflex, the fracture lines spread outward across the surface, but the ice holds. Nari kneels behind her with the rope. Aaron chips with the IV hook. Fast, shallow work. After 2 minutes, the corner of a black plastic box finally rises from the flow like a tooth being pulled. Soon, they will have it. The box sits on the deck. He opens it on his knees using a small knife that Hane presses into his hand. Inside are 2 folded gray wool blankets, and 1 has a brown stain. They do not investigate. There are 3 nutrient packs of dense paste, 800 calories each by the label, completely sealed. Beneath them lies a heat stone cracked down the middle but still glowing faintly on one side. Tucked alongside is a heavy fishing hook. Right next to it is a pouch of alcohol wipes, last out of the box is a small utility knife, the kind used to open packages, sharper than it looks. He exhales. Having seen worse medical kits in his residency, he has seen worse kits at hospitals, frankly. He gives the warmest corner to the 3 pregnant women without asking anyone for permission. Sion is placed against the back wall where the wind hits the least. Yuna sits next to her. Jaisu goes on the inside because she will not fight for space. He puts the unbroken half of the heat stone behind them. He places 1 wool blanket over Sion and Yuna together and the other over Jaisu. The remaining women are divided into watch shifts in his head. He tells Mio and Aaron, who repeat the assignments out loud the way nurses repeat orders at a handoff. The toxic global chat sees the corner assignment within 30 seconds because someone on a nearby raft has a line of sight, and the mockery spikes, teasing the doctor for warming his own first. The soft hands raft is picking favorites, giving the pregnant burdens the only blanket. Some of it is actually pretty funny, the way cruel things can be. If you are not the target of the joke, he does not explain himself. A doctor explaining his triage to a chat is a doctor who has already lost control. The system messages return then, calm as always. Shelter for protected lives is confirmed. Civilian medical priority confirmed. Raft expansion is granted. 2 paces by 2 paces. A half-height structural wind wall is granted along the north edge. A sealed medical storage box is unlocked for his medical contribution. Rank: they hold first place in the region. Their combat rank is dead last. He does not feel triumphant about the medical rank. The combat rank tells the harsh truth. They are still last. They are still the soft hands raft, the walking medicine box. The pregnant burden raft. The expansion suddenly clicks out of the deck. 2 new boards rising like a healing bone. The wind wall lifts along the north edge in a translucent gray panel that bends the worst of the wind without blocking their view. Inside the new section, the medical storage box settles with the soft thunk of something the world has decided is his. Mrs. O has clean water in her pot now. She drops in 2 nutrient pastes, breaks them with her wooden spoon, and looks up at him for permission. Feed the corner first, he tells her. 3 small bowls, then Hain and Nari. After that, the rest by watch rotation. He will eat last. She does not argue, but Minso gives him a look that says he will not eat last forever, then goes to help carry bowls. While the paste melts, he does the second thing he always does during an emergency code, which is counting his staff. Mio is first because she will run the corner if he dies. In the next hour, Aaron is third because she will guard the door if Hain dies. Bora is fourth because she will keep the chat alive, even if the rest of them go silent, keeping their network breathing. Nari is fifth because she is being made into a doctor right in front of his eyes, whether she likes it or not. Mrs. 6 is chosen because she is the only one who can decide who eats next without anyone arguing. The pregnant women are not staff, they are the mission. He does not ever, even in his own head, mix the 2 columns. He crouches next to Hain at the medicine shelf because he wants to know what they actually have. She lays it out for him without flourish. 8 intact antibiotic vials, narrow spectrum, mostly useful for soft tissue infections. 2 intact insulin pens, which she sets to the side because nobody on this raft has the matching condition yet. But if a passenger from a refugee raft ends up here with it later, they will have looked clever instead of lucky. 4 sterile gauze rolls, 6 pairs of disposable gloves, 3 left, 3 right, none matching, because in a hospital basket, you take what you can get. 1 bottle of iodine solution, 2/3 full, the small sealed jar of paracetamol she somehow saved from the pharmacy counter when the shelf collapsed. 1 sealed bottle of saline, a small bag of sterile sutures, threaded already of 3 different gauges, 2 scalpel handles, 3 replacement blades, 1 thermometer glass, miraculously unbroken, she says. Miraculously, very quietly, the way a pharmacist says it. He nods. He tells her, "This is more than I dared hope for." She says, "This is less than we need." We both know we are both correct. The shelf gets a small sliding wood panel that the system adds without asking because it has begun to learn how Hain arranges things. Hain notices the panel appear. She does not smile. She closes the panel over the medicine, then opens it, then closes it again. The closing is the smile. Bora has been quietly tagging the rafts in chat by category: soldier rafts, builder rafts, fisher rafts, restaurant rafts, school rafts, wealth rafts, prisoner rafts, office rafts, gang rafts, faith rafts, hospital rafts. Each tag is just a color in her head, but she draws the color wheel on her palm while she works. It is a habit from years of dispatch. Triage by color, decide by color, listen by color. The chat does not know she is doing this. White Grave will know later. By then it will be too late. Park Nari sits very still with Hain and watches the medicine count. She has stopped staring at her hands, which is the first step. She is biting the inside of her cheek, which is the second step. She is also breathing in a 4-count rhythm, which he taught a class of students last spring and did not expect any of them to remember, which is the third step. He crouches beside her for a moment. He tells Her when the next medical thing happens, I want you next to me, not against the storage box. She blinks twice. She nods, the biting stops, her breathing settles. A fourth step is the one she will take when she actually moves. Co. Aaron returns from the south edge with a frozen length of broken pipe, she pried. Out of the ice, she holds it the way a person holds a tool that has just become a weapon. He tells her that is a good club, but he wants a real spear before nightfall, she says, working on it. She has already pulled a long, thin shard of metal from the broken nurse station counter and is shaping it on the corner of the heat stone with a small piece of grit she found on the deck. She is doing things that should take 3 days and 3 hours because she is 23 years old in a torn uniform on a cracked raft with 20 women. She's silently deciding she will die for, and her hands have finally stopped being trainee hands, the first. As food is passed around, the system message about the corner arrangement appears. Protected lives shelter, holding civilian medical priority status. Occupants of the pregnancy rest corner now receive reduced stamina drain. Motherside metabolic loss is decreasing. These numbers are not flashy at all. Yet those small figures are the reason a child will survive in this region. Out in the open, the chat does not see these hidden numbers. No other system shows them. He starts to suspect his is not normal. Mrs. O delivers bowls to the pregnant women, soon takes hers with both hands. She drinks slowly. Yuna refuses, of course. Mrs. O sets the bowl beside her. She leaves it without comment. Jai-Soo takes hers and looks for permission. Go ahead and drink, he tells her. Her first swallow makes her cough. The second sip is easier. By the third, her tensed shoulders finally drop. She relaxes by half an inch, a huge shift for someone holding back tension. In clinical terms, it is a massive transformation. The other 17 women on the raft receive their bowls in watch rotation. He memorizes names as the bowls move. Chisora is an X-ray tech with a deep scrape down her arm, while Heian cleans as she eats. Then Lima Jin, a social worker with a bruised cheek. She got it from a falling shelf. Han Gyal, the cardiology clerk, is next. Her eyes are red from crying, still clutching a notebook of patient room numbers. She will never deliver to them again. Jang Ha is a maternity nurse. She keeps drifting toward Mio like gravity. 2 more nurses are with them, along with a therapist, a janitor, and 3 administrators who introduce themselves. They speak in one quick sentence, as nobody has time for long stories. The X-ray tech is the one pointing out which faces he needs to remember. If anything happens before morning, he must remember them. It is a true kindness. Being told who your patient is right before passing out is an unforgettable kindness. It is the type of gesture he will never forget. He eats last, as promised. His bowl is smaller. Nurse Mo notices, but stays quiet in front of them. However, she still sneaks a second half spoon of broth into his bowl. She does it while Mrs. O looks away. He accepts the warm nutrient broth. The warm broth hits his stomach like a clean fire, proving how empty he was. His system immediately reports that his stamina has recovered by a solid margin. The stamina cost for his next scan is reduced. Recovery applied. He moves on. Right on cue, Captain Ryu's military raft slowly drifts into view 200 paces away. The massive military vessel slows down, dwarfing their own small raft by a huge margin. Soldiers in matching coats lean on the rails, 4 visible, with 2 more behind. Those soldiers stand at the stern, near a heat core leaking a visible shimmer. You can clearly see a faint shimmer of warm air rising near the cabin door. A panel hangs loosely open on the door, failing to seal the cabin properly. The wind slaps the panel shut over and over, triggering an unsolicited system scan. It is a light scan, costing almost nothing because the situation is completely obvious. In fact, any regular doctor would notice these issues with a single glance. Food stores are declining, and crew loyalty is becoming highly unstable. 3 figures stand near the left rail, keeping their weight away from Ryu. Damaged rear seal leaks warm gas, attracting cold-blooded predators in the water. A massive frost shark is lurking below, following the warm heat plume. The fresh blood from Ryu's earlier kill draws it right in. It is over 200 paces away, closing in, wrong for them but perfect for him. Ryu yells across the freezing water through cupped hands, standard tough guy routine. He addresses Dr. 27 directly, shouting that he is only going to say this once. Send the senior nurse over on a lifeline. Throw the pregnant women into the cold. The rest can follow his raft for protection until they finally reach land. Refuse, and he threatens to sink their raft before the storm even arrives. the doctor does not flinch. He stays completely silent. Instead, he just types a public reply to the entire region. His message reads like a cold medical chart. Captain Ryu Dohan, your rear seal is broken. You are leaking warm gas, and your earlier blood dump has drawn a monster. A frost shark is currently beneath your raft. Seal the panel before talking tough. The regional chat instantly freezes for a split second. Then, absolute chaotic explosion. Bora's eyes go wide. Her mouth twitches with a highly satisfied, unspoken smirk. Beside her, Mio's grip on the bowl she is holding tightens in sheer anticipation. Ryu reacts the way fragile, arrogant men always do when publicly humiliated. He blows himself up. Grabbing a heavy spear, he prepares to make a move. He balances it once for show, then hurls it straight toward the doctor's raft. The spear is meant to plant near the edge and rattle them. It hits. It rattles, but Ryu completely forgot the most dangerous consequence of his actions. He acts like a captain, not a doctor. He does not understand acoustics. The impact broadcasts heavy vibrations straight down into the freezing water below. The beast responds. Suddenly, a massive frost shark breaks the surface right between them. Its head is a terrifying matte gray, wider than an adult man, rising high. Jaws hinge wide, revealing inward curved teeth. It ignores the humans for now. It only senses the heat and the blood. It rams Ryu's military raft with insane force. The heavy deck jolts violently, throwing a soldier overboard as Ryu screams panicked, incoherent orders. The howling wind drowns him out. The unsealed panel slaps open and shut. Below them, the beast strikes again. The doctor quickly orders Aaron to secure the hook. Now Mrs. O lower the stove. Bora, watch the shark and signal when it dives. Hain, prepare the alcohol wipes and use a nutrient pack as grease for the bait. Nari, stay with the patients. Mio, keep your knife ready. Everyone moves instantly. Soyen lets out a soft, startled sound, her hand lifting off her pregnant belly. She looks at the doctor, her expression filled with a sudden, overwhelming panic. Her eyes are wide, showing a strange reaction the doctor has never seen in a patient before. She whispers that a school of fish is fleeing. West, they are escaping. Her voice trembles. She has absolutely no idea what is actually happening to her. But the system screen flashes before the doctor's eyes. A rare talent has awakened. Kang Soyan now possesses a life pulse sense, detecting movement beneath the deep ice. She is highly sensitive to predators and prey. The doctor gently asks her how far. She closes her eyes, whispering that they are 20 paces away, maybe less. They are close to the surface and terrified. The doctor immediately alerts Aaron. He tells Aaron to drop the hook 20 paces west, offering absolutely no explanation. Aaron does not hesitate. She drops the hook, bracing the rope firmly under her boot. Suddenly, the shark strikes Ryu's raft a third time, completely tearing the rear deck apart. The platform breaks off. A soldier plunges into the freezing water, screaming as he sinks. He never comes back up. Ryu's crew starts shouting at each other from all sides. The 4 unstable crewmen on the left rail begin drifting toward the cabin. Instead of heading toward Ryu, they leave the captain standing completely alone on his own deck. Meanwhile, Aaron hooks a fish on her very first try. It is gray and incredibly long. It is slick and longer than a man's forearm, hooked clean through the gill. She swings it onto the deck, where Mrs. O is waiting with a small knife. Mrs. O holds the pot, while Hain barks orders to separate the oil, organs, and bones. 3 things quickly become clear about how this team operates under intense pressure. First, Mrs. O is completely unfazed. Her hands move with absolute steady speed. She works like someone who has gutted thousands of fish in hospital kitchens. She has silently decided that a frost shark lurking nearby is no reason to waste food. No shark below the raft will ruin this fish. Second, Mincio's knife work is incredibly clean. Her skill easily surpasses the doctor's. She quickly removes the gills and opens the belly. She scrapes the organs into a bowl Hain suddenly produces from thin air. She slices the meat into strips before the doctor can even peel a single piece. She catches him watching but does not slow down, casually mentioning she has done this plenty. Delivering babies and doing post-op surgery require the exact same kind of careful touch, she explains. Third, Aaron reads the ice, giving constant updates every 30 seconds. She tracks the next safe footing, shifting winds, and the movement of Ryu's raft. She even maps where the dark patch of the feeding shark is spreading. Ryu's arguing crew looks less like a real team and more like strangers under pressure. It is clear they are no longer a united front. Soon calls out from her corner. Pointing west with growing confidence, she warns that 3 more are coming very close. Her eyes remain shut, hand resting on her stomach. Her strange gift has connected her body. She is linked to the school of fish in a way no one else can fully comprehend. The school moves in sync with her own pulse, feeding her raw, direct data. The information flows through her effortlessly. Instantly, Aaron moves to where she points. The hook drops and immediately comes back up heavy with 3 more fish. Bora watches from her spot and tells the doctor that this is completely impossible. The doctor tells her to write impossible on her palm to define it later. She draws a tiny dot on her hand and circles it as a future reminder. Bora then reports without being asked that the shark is feeding on the soldier. Ryu is screaming orders, but 3 of his crew members are completely ignoring him. He hasn't looked toward them once. Meanwhile, Hain renders oil from the fish. She pours the oil over the heat stone just as they pull up their 8th catch. She drops a strip of seaweed from a fish's stomach into the hot oil and stirs. She mutters to herself that it is an old recipe passed down from her grandmother. It serves as a decent frostbite ointment, which is far better than having nothing. Meanwhile, Mrs. O starts making soup in a second pot that appeared out of nowhere. As the hot, salty aroma fills the raft, a collective sigh of relief escapes the women. Even the stubborn Yuna instinctively leans closer to the comforting scent. Yuna refuses the first bowl, sharply demanding they hand it to Jai-Soo instead. Mrs. O looks at the doctor for confirmation, gets a nod, and hands it over. Jai-Soo takes the bowl, silently weeping as she drinks without even changing her expression. Her hand stays on her belly and the doctor makes a note. Jai-Soo is not weak, she has been told she is weak for far too long. Meanwhile, the system rolls out. Upgrades into the storage box as they work, and a small furnace bowl unlocks. Curved metal dish houses the cracked heat stone they set inside, doubling the radiant warmth. A fish drying rack also unlocks against the wind wall, using a low frame of wood to let strips of meat hang to cure. A pregnancy rest corner formally unlocks with a low wall around the 3 women to soften the spray. A medicine shelf unlocks above Hayen's spot, narrow with raised lips so vials do not slide off. A bone spear rack unlocks near the south edge, empty for now. Waiting in just 1 single minute, food stability jumps up by 2 full ranks. Combat rank nudges up once and then once more before settling, all because they survived a massive monster event without losing a single woman. Meanwhile, Ryu's raft barely holds together. The shark eventually dives away with the soldier amidst the blood. Ryu does not look at the doctor. Instead, he looks at his crew and they look back. He shouts an order to seal the rear panel and they quickly do so. Aaron returns from the south edge carrying the spine and skull of the largest fish over her shoulder, plus a smaller, frost-cracked rib of a completely different bone that drifted free from the shark feeding, looking white, curved, and incredibly dense. She kneels at the bone spear rack and lays them out. The doctor melts the broken steel head of a hospital scalpel over the furnace bowl. He and Aaron work together, fitting it onto the long fish spine tied tight with strips of a bed sheet. Mrs. O tore into cord. The shark rib forms the cross. What they end up with is incredibly light, sharp, and weighted perfectly. It is the exact kind of spear a strong woman can drive through a thick leather coat without ever losing her footing. Aaron tests it in her hand, her expression shifting to show that deep, quiet relief of a warrior who has finally been handed a weapon that fits. Nearby, Hayen labels her first jar of warming salve and sets it on the medicine shelf. Nari actually wrote the label because her hands are still shaking, and keeping busy is the only thing she can manage without breaking anything. Though the writing is shaky, the doctor does not care. At least the label exists. Suddenly, the name Dr. Victor Hale comes to his mind as a private message, a single line with no greeting. Survival rate above expectations. He reads it twice. The man is polite but incredibly dangerous. He ignores it. Minso notices his eyes glaze over and crosses the deck. Without asking, she rests 2 fingers gently right underneath the wrist of his dominant hand for just half a second. She checks his pulse, the way nurses check doctors who forgot to care, and her eyebrow raises slightly at what she finds. She tells him to finish his soup. Speaking more gently than she has all day, the doctor promises he will take care of it in a minute, but she firmly insists on right now. He drinks because Minso in nurse mode is simply not someone he wants to disobey on a freezing, cracked raft. Her hand lingers on his wrist for 1 extra second. Before she turns away, the system quietly notes that trust with his primary Nurse has officially moved up a tier, but the system did not need to tell him. His wrist already knew. Aaron places the first bone scalpel spear onto the new bone. Spear rack, a quiet, clean satisfaction shining in the corners of her eyes. Beside it, the second close-range spear slides perfectly into its slot. Aaron tightens the straps holding the rack to the south rail and tests them twice. She crouches by the wind wall, staring down at the chat scroll inside her head. Reading it like someone completely new to the system, slow but steady. She tells the doctor that 3 rafts are now calling them the soft hands raft is a compliment while 2 still mean it as an insult. The shift just happened. The doctor warns her to never engage either. She stays completely silent. Engaging is only for people with nothing to lose, and they have everything to lose. Aaron wants to talk about those spears more than she admits. The doctor sits beside her. She has earned this quiet moment. Holding the first spear across her knees, she explains that the long one is balanced for a throw right at the collar line, where a man's coat opens rather than the throat itself, because the wind is too unpredictable. The throat is small, the wind would steal the throw. She looks just below. The jaw where the cold thins the skin, and where any man worth fearing has gone without a scarf for 2 days. She looks like a woman who is no longer pretending she hasn't thought about exactly who she might be aiming at. The doctor warns her that is a kill shot. Do not throw it unless you mean it. She tells him she won't throw it unless she means it. They do not say Ryu's name out loud. No need. The second spear, she continues. The shorter one is balanced for that close-in moment when a man climbs over the south rail and tries to find his footing on the deck. Once he is up, the blade goes in low under the ribs on the side away from the heart, because that is the side where a person can be stopped from fighting without dying immediately, and a person who is not dying can be made to talk about a chilling transformation for a 23-year-old. She speaks like a security captain with 10 years of training, yet she has not trained for 10 years. She has trained for 2. The rest is what a woman finds inside herself when 20 other women are sleeping behind her, and she is the only shield before the south rail. The doctor tells her not to aim to kill the second man but to take him out of the fight. She replies that is exactly what she said. He does not correct her again. Heian, listening from the medicine shelf, opens her sealed jar of dried seaweed and ash, showing him what she has put together over the last hour. It is not real smoke powder but a primitive imitation. She has crushed the seaweed thin, mixing in fish oil soaked ash from the furnace bowl, packing it into 3 small twists of wax paper, salvaged from the inner wrapping of their nutrient packs. These packs will smolder, she explains, rather than burst. Once lit, the smoke will be acrid and thick, making eyes water and breathing difficult within a small area. It is still better than nothing, the doctor says. Save 1 for Aaron, save 1 for Bora near the south rail, and save the last for emergencies. She nods, tucking the 3rd pack under the medicine shelf where only she can find it. Just then, Bora reports something else. Doctor, she says, an unknown raft just sent a message. The sender handle is Lena Frost. She offers a map of the local current free of charge in exchange for being included in their trade circle later. The map shows where the warm currents flow and where the cold ones run. It also marks Frost Shark territory moving this week. The doctor looks at Bora, whose face remains as flat and focused as when she identified the Hostel Park family raft. They look like simple fishing brothers, but underneath lies a deep, heavy layer of weariness. Doctor, she says, admitting she does not know this woman or if the map is even real. The doctor tells her to accept the map but mark her as unverified, giving her absolutely nothing back tonight. She nods. Soon, the map arrives in chat as a simple set of arrows over a grid. Bora studies the grid. 2 arrows perfectly match what Son's life pulse sense revealed earlier. Detected about the fish school earlier today. This means the map is at least partly real. Whoever this Lena Frost is, she has working intelligence. He files her name in the same mental drawer as Daniel Ryu and Victor Hale, under a different label: useful, untrustworthy, and alive. At sundown, Menno brings him a clean piece of cloth and a dab of warming salve, telling him his knuckles are cracked and to hold still. So he holds completely still. Her thumb carefully works the salve deep into the small splits in his skin, moving with the absent precision of a woman who has done this for 100 patients before, treating it as nothing more than standard maintenance. The salve stings cold at first, then burns warm. His knuckles, which have been bleeding slightly all afternoon without him even noticing, finally stop their bleeding. She wipes the excess on her own sleeve, whispering there as he thanks her, calling her Mo. She calls him doctor, not catching herself this time. Doctor, she repeats, more deliberately telling him that is what he is tonight, so be that. He nods, the system softly registers the moment without any grand ceremony. Trust between primary physician and senior nurse has reached the second tier. Mrs. O, who was pretending not to watch this quiet scene, hands him a second small bowl of warm broth. Without a word, drink, she says, and he drinks. The grandmother in her has now fully taken charge. Tonight the cook stands by. Suddenly Bora spots something in chat that he missed. She looks at him with that tense focus of a dispatcher about to relay an emergency. Doctor, she says, a raft 300 paces south is reporting severe frostbite on a woman's foot. They are not asking them directly, though. They are asking the public chat. He asks who is on that raft, a single mother and 2 kids, last name Park. He looks at Han, who already holds a sealed jar of warming salve. Send it, he tells Bora, adding a single instruction for the mother. Apply it in a thin layer without rubbing, then wrap it in a clean, dry cloth. Do not let that foot get wet again. Bora quickly coordinates the tied rope drop with the raft's oldest child in 2 minutes flat, and the jar is gone before he can second guess sending it. The mother messages back, incredibly polite and dignified. Thank you, Dr. 27, she writes. Suddenly, the constant mockery in the chat goes completely quiet. Bora smiles. This moment is real. Then that Beverly Pierce woman tries to post a nasty comment about charity from a raft that cannot even feed itself, but the post lands completely flat. The entire mood of the chat shifts as ordinary people who have been watching long enough finally make up their own minds. Even Daniel Cross stays silent, likely saving his ammunition for some massive public move he plans to make later. The doctor files that silence away as a warning. Polite silence from a wealthy man is the loudest warning of all. Jaisu finishes her soup, quietly watching him from her corner with a silent question in her eyes. He crouches down to her level and she asks it softly while the other women are busy with their chores and not paying attention. Doctor, why did you put the 3 of us in the warm corner when we cannot work? Jaisu says the strong nurses deserve the warmest spot. Feeling she is not worth it, she does not finish her sentence, not knowing how to end it. The doctor quickly tells her that she is carrying an unborn child and that the freezing cold will reach the baby right through her. If she stays warm, the baby stays alive, and if the baby lives, the raft actually has a future. Beyond just their own survival, that is the only triage that matters right now. She looks at the doctor for a long time. Her hand never leaves her belly, quietly murmuring that she understands. He does not think she fully understands yet, but she is starting to. The thing he does not say to Jaisu is the second half of his calculation, which is that triage on this raft is not just about who has the best chance of surviving the next hour. It is about who has the best chance of giving the rest of them a reason to survive the coming year. A baby on this deck born alive and registered on the system would shift their protected lives parameter from 3 unborn to 3 unborn plus 1 born, and the math on that small shift, the way the system has begun to phrase things in the doctor's head, is the kind of math regions are built on. He stays silent because he does not want Jaisu to feel like a mere number. Calculations are for him to carry, mothers are for him to keep warm. Mrs. O refills Jaisu's bowl with a second half ration she had saved under the lid, and she does it without any ceremony, just one slow ladle and a small nod. Jaisu eats it. The salt and warmth move through her in a visible wave, and somewhere in her body, a tight knot that has been tight for months loosens by a tiny fraction. The doctor watches her shoulders drop again. The maternity nurse, Jang Ha, has drifted closer to Jaisu and is now sitting cross-legged near her feet, resting her hand lightly on Jaisu's ankle without pressing, just resting. It is the way labor nurses sit when a woman is in early stages and just needs to feel a hand. Jaisu does not look at Ha. Ha does not look up at Jaisu, but the hand stays. What is happening between them is quieter than anything else on the raft, and to the doctor, easily the most important thing happening on the raft. Ha's hand on Jaisu's ankle in the wind wall corner is the same kind of small, steady light he had tried to make for someone long ago in another dark room. He refuses to let himself walk back into now. His chest tightens for a second, but he closes the drawer before it opens. Further, the sun has not set yet, but the sky is thickening. He checks the wind wall. The translucent gray panel is holding, slightly tilted by the wind but stable. Their expansion boards are dry. Hain has moved the medical storage box into the inside corner, where it won't get hit if anything happens to the south. Rail along the wind wall, the fish drying rack has 11 strips of fish on it, now twisting slowly in the moving air. Beneath them, the small furnace bowl glows a dull, steady orange. Mrs. O has begun rationing a second pot of water, so they will have warm liquid for the long part of the night. Aaron has tightened the lashing on the south rail twice. Bora has the chat in 3 layers in her head. Hain has begun grinding a small jar of dried seaweed in ash for what will eventually be a primitive smoke powder, the kind of pharmacist who has read old books knows how to make without admitting where she learned it. Nari finishes her bowl of soup and stands up, without announcing that she is standing. She just stands. She walks over to him with the wobbly steadiness of a person who has decided to do something she has never done before. Doctor, she. He tells her to call him Jai Woo. She just nods, calling him doctor. She is not ready for first names yet, and honestly, that is perfectly fine. She wants watch shift 2 with whoever is awake. After all, she barely slept. She will not sleep tonight either, so she might as well be useful. He looks at her for a long moment. Granted, he says. She is paired with Chisora, the tech standing by the storage box. Her job is to stand at the south rail, call Aaron if anything changes. He gives her strict orders: do not fight, do not act brave, just call. Nari nods 3 times and immediately takes her post at the south rail. Aaron watches her take position. He gives a small, approving glance. Nari pretends not to notice. Even so, her lips twitch into a smile. Suddenly, Bora's chat window pulls in a strange message. It does not look like data. A user named Tom Reed posts a simple question in the regional chat. He politely asks Dr. 27 if 10 plastic sheets can buy 2 bowls of soup. The doctor tells Bora to ask, what was the plastic sheet used for? Tom replies quickly, it was a clean, unused wall for a community greenhouse. The doctor immediately tells Bora to agree to the trade. This plastic will serve as the second wall for the pregnant patient corner. Just 2 minutes later, the neatly folded plastic arrives on a dropped rope. Unfolding it on the deck, he finds it is indeed clean, thick greenhouse plastic. It is strong enough to block the cold wind. Mrs. O inspects it. This is good plastic, she says. Meanwhile, Tom asks for nothing else. He simply signs off, wishing the doctor good luck in the storm. This is the kind of survivor who will outlast almost everyone on these waters. He treats trade as business, not warfare. Bora marks him as a future ally. The doctor immediately installs the new plastic against the windy corner. This double layer traps the dead air, locking in the vital warmth. The temperature rises quickly. He can feel it on his hand within minutes. His private system instantly confirms the improvement. The numbers are rising. Thermal stability jumps by 12%. Maternal and unborn stress is reduced. In his private system overlay, the corner now registers as a stable nursery. The toxic chat cannot see this. Daniel Cross cannot see this either. Only the doctor knows. For now, that is more than enough. And of course, a massive storm warning flashes right on the screen. An icy storm front is incoming, set to hit in 2 cycles. Heavy winds, moderate waves, freezing cold. The damage will be high. The chatroom finally grows quiet. The endless mockery begins to thin. Everyone with sense is now thinking about their own raft. He takes inventory. He checks everything they have managed to build since waking up on the deck. That was barely 9 hours ago, yet it already feels like weeks. 21 people alive, 3 stable pregnant patients, 11 strips of fish. Some soup in reserve, some already served, 8 intact antibiotic vials. 2 scalpel handles, 3 blades, 4 rolls of sterile gauze. On the medicine shelf, warming salves are ready. Another batch is currently cooking. And for the long run, they have 1 reliable bone scalpel. He checks a spear. At close range, a second smaller spear lies ready. Behind the pregnant corner, there is a newly added greenhouse plastic wall, 10 paces of fishing rope, roughly 6 square paces of extra insulation wool. The heat patch is officially sealed and tested. A small furnace. Bowl glows, a cracked heat stone, a half-bone spear rack with 2 slots filled. Trademark is unlocked. Tiered pricing is active. 8 direct messages wait in Bora's chat. 6 small rafts are trading or watching, along with polite observers named Tom Reed and Dr. Victor Hale. The other side of their inventory is looking far heavier. Out south, 1 hostile military raft floats with a damaged heat core and a captain who has declared his intent to ram them at the 3rd hour after dark. Up north, a luxury raft holds a public offer for the senior nurse, a quiet amplifier network, and an unknown number of contracted small rafts. There are 3 rich amplifier handles named Beverly, Pierce Ree, and Pacific Crown. High above them in the chat, an unknown, polite, large hospital observer goes by the name Victor Hale. Inside the corner, an unborn life talent rests inside his pregnant patient. Underneath his skull, an untested, costly scan ability has a stamina limit that nearly drops him when pushed. Behind everything, his sister, who is not on this raft, who has not been on any raft for 11 years, who lives in a drawer inside his chest that never closes all the way. Above it all, the stormfront looms 2 cycles out. You can feel the tension rising. The math is brutal. Medicine is mostly just the art of finding the single path through a terrible math problem, which ends with a patient still breathing on the other side. He moves through the raft once more, slowly touching each person lightly on the shoulder as he passes. It is how an attending doctor touches each bed on night rounds, saying nothing, just confirming that everyone is still there. They feel his presence. The X-ray technician leans into his hand for half a second. The maternity nurse nods without even opening her eyes. Behind her, Lima Jin, the social worker, whispers a soft "thank you, doctor," as if he has actually done something instead of just walking past them. None of them are at full strength, but they are all still here. Daniel Cross's name pops into the chat for the first time at sundown. The luxury raft posts a picture, which shows he is flexing bandwidth he really should not have. Inside the picture, the cabin is heated, glowing in warm gold with insulated walls and what looks like a real bed near a small bookshelf. Then the message lands below, broadcast to all of white grave, formatted with the easy confidence of a man who has never been told no by a system. Dr. 27, he messages, your senior nurse will not survive the storm on a raft that small. He offers her safe passage inside his heated cabin until the front passes. In exchange, he asks only that she remain on his raft permanently as his personal medical attendant, warning he will not make the offer twice. Decide now. The chat explodes. Bora's mouth flattens. Aaron grips the new spear even tighter. Mrs. O slowly sets down her ladle. Hayne keeps staring at the medicine shelf while Nari freezes mid-label. Eunice is completely silent. It is a quiet fury. A woman shows when she has heard this exact pitch from another wealthy man. The doctor does not move for a count of 3. Everyone online waits for him to react. Even his own crew is waiting for a response. Daniel has already won a small victory in this negotiation by trapping him in a public deadline. But the only way to reclaim control is to refuse that clock, so he counts 1. Slow, 2 slower, 3. Then he does something he learned from some of the best. He follows the attending rule, acting as if nothing was said until he has decided what to do. Crouching down by Jaisu first, he checks her pulse and tells her not to look at the chat. She nods. He moves to Yuna next, checking her pulse without touching her bruise. He tells her to take shallow breaths if her side hurts, and to exhale slowly. She is far too exhausted to even roll her eyes. He checks So's pulse next. It is steady, much better than before. The chat waits, but he does not. Bora suddenly taps the deck twice. That dispatcher sign means trouble. Things are about to escalate. He signals he understands, whispering to her not to reply on his handle. He warns her to just watch. Daniel Cross has paid for premium bandwidth that lets him post images. He has also, knowing men like Daniel, likely paid for at least 2 paid trolls in the chat to swarm anyone who contradicts him. He refuses to give these trolls any room to breathe, a smart move on his part. Silent, the more obvious their coordinated network becomes. Meanwhile, Bora maps it on her palm in real time. He watches her finger tracing a curve. Beverly Pierce's one of the paid accounts. Another handle named Reese is the second, a third under the name Pacific Crown makes 3. All are luxury rafts. Right now they remain quiet, but they will not stay quiet for long. Menno straightens up, ignoring his gaze. She opens her own secret chat handle that he never knew she had and types out a reply in plain words. It is broadcasted slowly, so the entire region reads it in real time. Daniel Cross, she writes, I am Mincio, senior nurse on hospital raft 27. I am not for sale and I belong to no one. Thank you for your concern about my safety. I am safer here than in any heated cabin you can offer. End of message. The chat ripples with tension. A new handle joins the mockery thread, boasting a socialite voice he recognizes from a luxury raft, a woman posting under the name Beverly Pierce, sharp and bright like the edge of a knife. She comments under Mio's Reply brave words from a soft hand's raft, she sneers. Let us see how brave Nurse Mio feels in the storm. The pregnant burden raft thinks it can negotiate, truly adorable. The chat erupts with mock laughter. Daniel stays silent. He has no need to reply. The offer remains, glowing in his head, both polite and final, suddenly too small. Rafts direct message him at the same time. The first is a 4-person family raft, mostly. Women asking if they trade soup for cloth. Right after, a 2-person fishing raft appears. 2 brothers ask if they trade soup for rope. Bora reads them out, without looking at him, confirming both are real. Neither is Ryu. Daniel is not. In either chat chain, the fishing brothers can spare 10 paces of good rope. That family can spare wool. He tells her to agree, instructing a tied rope drop at 30 paces, trading 3 bowls per deal. She nods. The trade market suddenly activates in the system. As a valid category, the moment the first rope hits their deck, trade market unlocked. Tiered pricing is engaged. Small rafts get ally pricing, large rafts standard pricing. 3 more small rafts message him. Soon after, 2 of them ask for soup. The third offers loyalty in exchange for protection. He declines the loyalty offer, politely, because he does not have the deck space or the food to be anyone's lord. And he does not want that heavy responsibility yet. The third raft thanks him anyway. People remember a polite refusal. This first trade goes off much smoother than expected. Erin coils a rope around her elbow, much like she used to coil medical bandage tubing during security drills, and she sends the loop sailing cleanly across the gap to the fishing brothers toss their rope with a clean grunt. The other side catches it, and they tie a covered wooden bowl to the center. They quickly slide it across, sending hot steaming fish soup over. Back comes their rope, 10 clean pieces knotted in 3 spliced places. Mrs. O inspects the splices from the deck, keeping her distance from the rail. She tells the doctor that it is good rope, tied by someone who knew his craft. The doctor tells her to remember that specific raft, and she nods in agreement. Skilled people tend to stay reliable, but the family raft moves much slower. Their woman is older, holding a child on her hip without throwing any ropes. Instead, she lowers a small basket on a long line, fearing the wind. Inside the basket is a folded wool blanket the size of a heavy coat. The cedar scent means she packed her home before fleeing. She is a survivor. Organized survivors always last longer, so they send back 2 bowls instead of 1. Mrs. O makes the call, while Bora's touch on the doctor's arm signals agreement. It is the silent language of veteran dispatchers who can read voices for triage. This older woman is definitely someone you want owing you a small favor. Bora keeps tracking everyone, drawing a mental map without needing any actual paper. She simply uses her finger to trace details onto her own palm while speaking. Family raft, 2 adults, 1 little girl, cooperative but slow and steady. 2 strong fishing brothers, fast, clean, and eager to trade. 6 small rafts watch silently, while 3 luxury rafts mock them. Ryu's military raft is incredibly dangerous, and there is another mysterious vessel, controlled by Daniel Cross, who is dangerous in a completely different way. Finally, Victor hails hospital raft, polite but highly unpredictable. She looks up. She calls it their map, but the doctor gently says that is enough for tonight. She blinks and smiles, realizing she is still incredibly good at her job. Meanwhile, Haynes starts mixing a second jar of warming salve from leftover fish oil. The strong, pungent scent of mint and fish oil fills their tiny, cramped space. It stings the doctor's eyes, a sharp sensation he is actually quite grateful for. Because for once on this raft, the sharp feeling is not pure terror. Nari labels the second jar, her hands much steadier than before. Her shaky letters are finally staying in a neat, consistent line. The doctor quietly observes her, the same way he used to monitor new interns. He knows she is going to be a great physician, even if no one else sees it. Nearby, Eunice silently drags her exhausted body over to the edge of the pregnancy corner. She positions herself carefully, placing her own body between Soon and the open deck. She is incredibly weak and cannot even sit upright, yet a fierce determination takes over. It is a silent vow the doctor has witnessed countless times in emergency rooms. She has decided to become an absolute shield between something fragile and the cold. The dark bruise on her jaw has gotten worse, but she refuses to show it. She will not let the doctor examine it, so he respects her boundaries. He simply asks if it hurts to breathe, knowing she will probably lie anyway. The doctor instructs Hayne to leave some medicine where Yuna can easily reach it. Hain leaves the wrap, knowing she will not touch it tonight, but definitely tomorrow. That is enough for now. Suddenly, So Yan stirs, her eyes closed, whispering softly. Soon murmurs about fish and tells her baby to be quiet, her hand finding her belly. Her hand rests there under the blanket, while Jai Woo watches her closely. It feels incredibly heavy for a woman whose body is already busy growing new life. She never asked for this gift, but the system forced the talent onto her anyway. Perhaps because she has spent months shielding a tiny, frightened heartbeat. All while being told her body was in the way, something keeps giving. Women like Soon talents that look like burdens. Jai Woo wants to change that. He wants her empowered. She drifts off. Ju has fallen asleep nearby. Her hands still hold the blanket, and dried tears form thin salt lines on her face. She left most of her soup behind, so Jai Woo asks Mrs. O to keep half of it warm. He wants it kept warm, knowing some people deserve a second chance to finish. Eating privately makes all the difference. Mrs. O silently slides the bowl away. She places the half-empty dish back onto the small stove and covers it. Done silently, a grandmother easily takes over for the busy cook. Mio finishes checking on the warm shelter and walks over to stand near Jai Woo. She does not sit or lean, standing with the perfect poise of a senior nurse. Balanced and completely hands-free, she addresses him as doctor. She immediately catches herself and switches to his name, just as she did all day. It is a regular slip, likely. Still, Jai Woo keeps advising her. He tells her to keep calling him doctor in public because the chat respects titles. Inside is different, quiet. Mio nods and calls his strategy smart. Jai Woo points out it was actually her idea. She simply files it away. Nearby, Aaron works on a second spear, making the shaft shorter and head heavier. This weapon is crafted for close-range thrusting rather than the long throws. She balances the weapon carefully on her finger, finding its true center. A second melted scalpel tip wraps the end in a collar that must survive tonight. Aaron hums a very quiet, completely unfamiliar tune as she works on the weapon. An unconscious melody flows from her. She finally looks happy, genuinely happy for once. That is something she has not felt in ages, prompting Jai Woo to make a note. Aaron needs work to avoid dark thoughts. No idle hands. The chat mood shifts. At dusk, mockery fades as storm warnings weigh heavily on everyone. Additionally, 3 small rafts have openly traded with them, changing public perception. Market observers quickly shift from amusement to genuine interest. An unfamiliar username suddenly drops a direct question on the board for Dr. 27. They ask what soup would cost a 4-person raft with no rope or cloth. Bora spots the message and looks at Jai Woo. They only have 1 heat patch. He offers 2 bowls of soup, but only if their patch passes an inspection. Bora quickly types out their response, keeping things professional. She keeps it polite. The buyer offers a quick thanks and waits. Another account posts below them, asking why Dr. 27 is trading his items. They wonder why he is not hoarding everything for the incoming storm. Jai Woo ponders the answer for 2 seconds before sending a public reply. Hoarding alone brings death. Fair trading builds future neighbors. The global chat falls silent for a long moment before a wave of approval starts. Several unknown rafts show support. Watching the screen, a faint smirk appears on Bora. He tells her he is just a doctor, not some politician playing games. She points out that on this sea, those roles are often the same. He doesn't argue. Dr. Victor Hale, the polite hospital chief, sends another message. Just a single line confirming the trade was correct. The doctor ignores it. Quiet observers who send polite, one-line approvals are always the most dangerous. They watch from the shadows, still deciding which side they want to take. He files Dr. Hale away under the same suspicious category as Daniel Cross. He labels them differently and moves on. Meanwhile, Beverly Pierce posts yet again. She mocks him under the pinned offer, calling him a doctor playing politician. It's a cheap shot, but the chat stays quiet. The audience is getting tense. Serious traders don't laugh at the talent. Bora quickly flags Beverly as hostile. They will keep tracking her, but he warns Bora not to engage. Tension is exactly what mockers crave. As sunset approaches, he pushes his limits. He spots a flat new ice patch eastward, which has thinned down under the rising winds. It looks wrong. He triggers a costly scan, feeling his stamina drain instantly. The display shows thin water underneath. The scan finishes, but his body is failing. A sudden coughing fit racks his chest. Then, a warm palm touches his neck. Her hand feels incredibly warm against his cold, shivering skin. She commands him to sit. He obeys, and she keeps her hand there quietly. A moment later, she pulls back, telling him not to push himself anymore. He promises her he won't, but they both know it is a complete lie, quietly accepted. He absolutely had to scan that ice to see if Ryu could use it. If Captain Ryu tries to launch a heavy ramming attack, thin ice is trouble. A massive military raft crossing a soft surface will quickly lose all momentum. That means Ryu's plans strike 3 hours after dark is going to be much harder. The shifting wind just placed a massive, soft barrier right between their two rafts. A heavy war machine cannot easily cross soft ice without slowing down drastically. That delay gives them time. He quietly shares the crucial scan with Aaron. Tell the South Rail to prepare, but expect 10 extra heartbeats of warning. Aaron nods. On a fragile raft like theirs, 10 extra heartbeats is an absolute eternity. Mo sits down right next to him in the cold. They share a long, tense silence. Together, they watch the protective wind wall sway in the gust and settle. Without looking at him, she quietly asks what his actual plan is for tonight. He tells her the goal is to let Ryu think he is going to succeed. Right up until the trap springs, she presses him for the exact details. Aaron will guard the south rail, holding the long spear until they are boarding. Bora will flood the chat with panic, keeping White Grave completely fooled. When Ryu's raft gets close, Hane will light the smoke twist to mask them. 20 paces out, the smoke hides their movement, while Mrs. O guards Nari. Mrs. O seals the warm corner. Mo must protect Nari and stay close. If he collapses during the fight, she will have to take over the scans. He left instructions, written directly, on the back wall of their medicine shelf. She stares at him, stunned that he actually wrote instructions on the shelf. He did it 2 hours ago when nobody was looking. She calls out, her voice heavy. He offers no reply. As the wind picks up, the quiet says everything. Up by a small notch, in his head, the chat scroll runs faster as more rafts log on. The weather chatter, a new handle posts a single observation that gets quietly. Boosted by several small rafts, Dr. 27's raft has the smallest combat score. One of the highest reported trade volumes in the region tonight, quite curious. He does not engage, Bora does not engage, Daniel Cross does not engage. The Beverly Pierce woman attempts to engage, but her post does not stick because two small rafts he helped today have started posting on their own, sharing their own small observations about the soup, the salve, the rope trade, and the polite rejections. Public opinion is a slow weather system. It is starting to turn. He keeps quiet. Because saying it out loud is the fastest way to stop that shift. Daniel's offer is still glowing in chat when he looks up. His hands are cold, so is the wind. Most things in his life that ever really mattered are cold too. He shuts the drawer again before it can open all the way. Daniel's offer is still glowing in chat when he looks up. The Beverly Pierce woman is amplifying it. Now throwing shade in the chat every few minutes with subtle digs about the senior nurse in the soft hands, raft in the burden corner. Captain Ryu is silent for the first time tonight. He is watching. His raft has drifted into a position where he can see theirs clearly, and his soldiers are no longer leaning on the left rail. The right rail looks reinforced. He has not forgotten that public chart note about his heat core. Then Ryu DMs him directly, Dr. 27. I do not negotiate in public anymore. Tonight before the storm, I will ram your raft and take what I want, unless you give me Human Co. and the 3 pregnant women on a tether at midnight. My raft hits your raft at the 3rd hour. After dark, he will not reply. The 3rd hour after dark is when most monsters under the ice surface for warmth, which Ryu does not even know because Ryu is not a doctor and has not been reading the supplementary info. The system attaches to scan results. That same hour is also when wind speed peaks before a storm front, and when raft-to-raft visibility drops to roughly nothing. Anyone ramming another raft at the 3rd hour after dark will have to do it half-blind with a damaged heat core, leaking a warm plume that anything cold-blooded in the water can easily follow, against a wind that will push him slightly off course. He has chosen the worst hour to be brave and the best hour to be stupid. He files the timing for later. For 1 second, he thinks about answering him. Just one short reply. Captain Ryu, your rear panel is still broken. Do not ram us before midnight, or you will not have a raft to ram with. The reply would be pretty satisfying. It would also tell Ryu that he is paying attention to his raft instead of his own. He closes the DM without replying. Men like Ryu need oxygen even more than mockers do. Withholding it costs him nothing and costs Him sleep, he scans the southern edge of their raft lightly to check what kind of impact their deck could absorb. Stamina cost is low, result is modest, their raft is small enough that a direct ram would crack the southern third of the platform but would not split them entirely with enough warning because the new expansion boards and the lashings Aaron reinforced this afternoon are doing more work than they should. They could lose 3 women if a ram comes. Without warning, they could lose absolutely none if they get a warning. Simple math. It is ugly. Giwoo does not write it on Bora's palm. He keeps it locked inside his head. Safe from prying eyes, he quietly warns Aaron 3rd hour after dark. Prepare for impact on the south rail. Do not tell the others yet. She looks at him. Just a brief cold look before she nods. Her hand drifts toward the bone spear. Giwoo whispers to Hain, instructing her to prepare whatever smoke powder she can. Even a tiny batch, along with a small jar of quick-lighting alcohol oil. She asks no questions at all. Instead, she silently opens the medicine cabinet. Without hesitation, she starts measuring. He tells Bora to watch Ryu exclusively. Starting from the 2nd hour after dark, she nods. The plan takes form. The plan forms silently in their minds. Honestly, their instant trust is incredible. He checks the pregnant women's corner again. Sean is sleeping with a hand on her belly. Yuna is awake but pretending to sleep, while Jaisu stares out openly. Crouching beside Jaisu, he whispers so softly that his voice barely carries. If anything happens tonight, he warns her to stay flat against the back wall. Keep a hand on Soon's shoulder. Do not stand up. No matter what happens, do not try to help. Your job is to survive. She stares. She tells him she has been trying to die quietly for 6 months. But tonight she wants to live noisily. He tells her that is the right path. He rests a hand on her shoulder. 1 second, then he leaves as Mio approaches. The private message remains unseen by her, but she doesn't need to. She read his face. She calls him doctor, then quickly corrects herself. Dressing him as Giwoo instead. The pregnant women are settled, and Mrs. O is busy. Rationing the soup, Aaron builds a second spear, while Bora monitors the chat channels. Hain finished the salve. Nari is asleep against the storage box with her pen. Asking what he needs, Giwoo simply tells her to stay close and think. Mio remains close. From where he sits, the 3 pregnant women are clearly visible. So Yian rests against the back wall, holding her belly with one hand. The other hand holds Yuna's. Yuna is awake, her sharp eyes mimicking sleep. Jaisu is awake too, her hand grasping the edge of her warm wool blanket. With that blanket tucked around her, she watches him. The whole region watches. Daniel crosses heated cabin, offer glows on the screen above his shoulder. The message remains pinned. Meanwhile, Beverly Pierce amplifies the deal every 2 minutes. Other wealthy rafts are placing soft bets. Talk about a twisted spectator sport. Dr. Victor Hale watches silently. Captain Ryu is quiet above water. But his private direct messages are loud. The White Grave storm warning ticks down. Losing a minute every minute, the wind force climbs 2 cycles. Before the front hits, he opens the mental system to inspect Daniel's offer. A heated cabin, insulated walls, a real bed, and a decent bookshelf. Things he could never afford before, a permanent Unio license and a senior nurse. He looks at Mio beside him, then at the pregnant women huddled in the corner. Looking closely, the broken half of a heat stone glows faintly inside a furnace bowl. Scanning the area, he checks the medicine shelf, the lone spear, and the fish. The strips of fish sway in the draft, protected by the temporary wind wall. This barrier bends the worst of the sub-zero, cold away from those women. They would not survive without it. He stares at the glowing screen. His answer awaits. He has to decide what kind of raft this is, not just for tonight. The choice defines the whole region, speaking for every small raft that messaged them today, and every elite raft laughing at them. His reply will dictate what Ryu does in the dark. With his hand gripping a spear, the words he sends next shape Daniel's next move. His cramped cabin tapping a finger against the table. Above all, it decides things for the 3 children who are not even born yet, and somewhere deep underneath all of it. For his sister, whose hand went cold long ago in a winter that still grips him. He opens the reply box, the cursor blinks, chat waits. Minsha waits, the pregnant corner waits, all around them the sea waits too. He inhales deeply, just like a surgeon right before making the first incision. His hand is steady, his hand remains still, but that cursor still blinks on. The reply box still waits. Somewhere on the other side of this freezing wind, Daniel crosses tapping his finger on a warm table, waiting too. He writes nothing. Complex, being fancy gets you killed in chat, just like it kills you on a raft. He types a single line, then adds a second one right under it. He reads them over and decides they are clean enough to send. Bora stands right at his left elbow, watching her own screen mirror his. Her mouth does not even move, but her eyebrows twitch in that familiar way when she is impressed. He is not trying to be clever. He posts the reply publicly under the Group 27 handle, making sure the entire region sees it post at the exact same moment. Daniel Cross sees it. The first line reads, Group 27 is not selling people. Right under it, their trade market is open for medicine, food, and warmth in tied rope drop quantities at posted prices. Actual people are not on the price list. End of post. There are no exclamation marks and none of the emoji icons. Bora keeps trying to suggest just two flat, direct sentences, ending with simple periods, carrying his own handle right underneath. The public chat scroll keeps rolling for a second without reacting, then it slows down. Right after that, it freezes completely for about 4 seconds. The white grave chat is now the quietest thing in his head, and that is exactly how he knows his message has hit home. Beverly Pierce reacts first. Naturally, she does. She posts directly under his text with a sharp, cold insult about how this soft-handed raft is suddenly too proud to accept warmth from a generous gentleman. Daniel Cross stays silent, letting others talk. A man like him pays Beverly Pierce and 3 other accounts to do the talking while he sips something hot and watches. Reese quickly fires the second insult, and Pacific Crown follows up with the third. The insults are sharp, but it is clear there are a lot of attacks coming from just a tiny handful of accounts. Anyone paying close attention can see it, and Bora has already spent the last hour quietly tracking those specific accounts on her device. The rest of the channel reads the attacks but refuses to join in. A heavy silence hangs, waiting for something else entirely. What they are waiting for is a human reaction. Daniel was never genuinely making an offer to him. The proposal was directed at her, broadcasted to the entire region so that if she said no, she would look ungrateful, and if he rejected it on her behalf, she would look controlled. Men like Daniel have played these games before with women who lack the tough spine of a senior nurse. He has never tried this before with Mio. He says nothing and does not even turn around. He just steps half a pace left, clearing the space in front of his reply panel and tilting the screen so that she can easily see it and reach the keyboard. The entire shift takes less than a single breath. Bora's eyebrows lift slightly as Mio steps forward without saying a word. She types under her own handle rather than his, using the one she registered this morning when the system gave everyone a personal terminal. What she types is short, plain, and posted publicly, declaring she is Mio, a senior nurse who belongs to no one because senior nurses do not transfer. Underneath, she slowly adds a second line, stating the 3 pregnant women on this raft will not transfer either since their doctors, nurses, and warmth are all right here. Daniel Cross's heated cabin is no hospital. Post ended, she steps back from the screen, keeping her eyes off him and staring at the wind wall, her hand hanging loose at her side as the chat explodes even harder than he expected. 3 small rafts immediately post their approval, while 2 larger ones send the silent watcher icon used by polite accounts to show they are watching the whole region closely without taking a side. Even Dr. Victor Hale himself posts the silent watcher icon right under Mio's line, which says a lot. Beverly Pearson repost more barbs, and Pacific Crown quickly adds sharper insult, calling their home a pregnant burden raft, making Bora mark Pacific Crown in dark ink on her palm. Daniel Cross remains silent for half a cycle, a quiet stretch that, from a man like him, is far more dangerous than any insult, though it acts as a quiet confession. He did not get what he wanted and must recalculate, as Beverly keeps amplifying things anyway. Because that is exactly what she is paid to do. He watches the screen and feels his shoulders finally relax, for the first time since Daniel's offer pinned. Mio's reply did not just refuse him, it shifted the entire conversation off Daniel completely. The next message, sent from a small raft account unknown to him, is a polite question asking if Group 27 still has fish soup at the rate posted earlier, and Bora handles the response for him. Yes, 2 cups for 1 ribbon of clean cloth, or 3 cups of soup for 1 standard length of rope. Tied rope drop only, with no boarding and no contact, drop point listed on the trade board. The buyer sends a quick thank you and the busy chat finally moves. Daniel Cross is still highlighted on the screen, but everyone has stopped looking at him. Bora turns toward him and says quietly that he just let Mia refuse him in. Her own voice, and he simply agrees. She calls it the right call, and then he replies that he knows. She promises to remember this, and he nods in agreement. Bora does not push further, turning back to her screen to post a gentle trade summary under their handle, listing what Group 27 has to offer. Tonight under storm pricing, including the drop coordinates and a polite refusal. To any accounts asking about senior nurses or their pregnant patients, the trade list is clean, bringing 3 immediate responses within the first minute. Fourth raft, run by an unfamiliar but polite trader, asks if they accept plastic sheets for frostbite salve, and Bora accepts at the standard rate. The plastic sheet trade goes through, marking their second successful deal of the night. Choi Haynes steps up to his shoulder, laying out the salve. Count on a flat strip of cloth, 12 jars in total, 3 small, 9 standard. 2 were used today, 1 for the Park family and half a jar for Chisura's arm scrape earlier, leaving only 10. She does not need to explain what. The numbers are clear. They can trade 4 standard jars tonight without risking their storm reserve, and Bora has already set aside 2 of the small jars for emergencies during the 3rd hour after dark, when Ryu might decide to ram them. The doctor sets the cap at 4 jars. She nods and uploads it to the trade board through Bora's panel under their handle. 2 of those jars are gone within 10 minutes. The remaining 2 stay listed. Storm prices hold steady. Mrs. O hands the doctor a warm cup of soup. It is mostly thin broth tonight because they are rationing the second pot. For tomorrow's pre-storm window, he drinks half and hands the rest to Nari, who just woke up and is rubbing her eyes with her palm. Nari takes the cup with both hands, drinking it down silently. Her messy hair is sticking up everywhere. She looks toward the medicine shelf, then at the doctor, then at Mio, then at the glowing trade board over Bora's shoulder. She asks quietly if Daniel Cross was told no. The doctor gives her a firm yes. She thinks about that for a second and says good. She does not say another word. She wipes her hands on her baggy hospital coat and goes to check the medicine shelf labels. Outside, the wind picks up above them. The grim storm warning panel ticks down. There are less than 2 cycles left until impact, and the front is wider than they expected. Visibility is dropping fast. Bora marks the trend on her palm slowly. The doctor says nothing to the women in the corner about Ryu's message. Yet, because if he warns them too early, they will panic for too long. Waiting too long in fear is worse. Instead, he quietly warns Aaron. Watch the south rail in 2 hours. Stay low. Hain, get alcohol. Oil ready at the south rim to light. Bora, monitor the chat queue. During the 2nd hour, Mio must stay by his left shoulder. Everyone else sleep. Of course, nobody sleeps, but they pretend because pretending brings comfort. On a night like this, even fake rest matters, but then something catches his eye. The medicine shelf looks wrong. The bottom row count is short, just slightly. He says nothing, quietly scanning the shelf while pretending to stretch. It is a quick count, the kind that does not require a full scan. 2 warming compresses are gone. 1 small jar of cough syrup is missing. Half a strip of fever patches is also gone. These are desperate supplies. Someone grabbed them out of fear, but these missing items do not match their official trade log. Hain notices his gaze and looks over too. Her face remains neutral. She gives a tiny nod. Mio has already noticed. She always catches details before the doctor does, a true veteran nurse. That is why she is senior staff. While he is just exhausted, she stays silent. As well, she is not budged from his side, but her eyes scan the room. Slowly, stopping twice, her gaze lingers first on Chisura's sleeping roll near the box, and then on Lima's bedroll right behind the medicine shelf. Both of those women were awake during the previous medicine inventory. Both have been very quiet. Chisura's scraped arm is healing quite well. Yejin has no injuries. Neither of them should be taking warming compresses. Mio's mouth tightens slightly as she leans closer to the doctor. She leans close to his ear and whispers that 2 of them did it. He quietly tells her he knows. The doctor will not call them out, raise his voice, or even cross the deck. Because the moment a doctor walks toward a terrified survivor who has stolen medicine hidden inside her bedroll, she will throw it right overboard, and then it is gone. Worse, he loses her trust as she stops feeling like a member of the raft and becomes a thief in her own mind. That guilt spreads. He has seen that mental rot destroy patients in hospitals. He won't let it happen here, he tells Menno. Gather everyone under the wind wall immediately, but keep it quiet. Tell them he Needs a headcount meeting. Menno nods and goes, assembling the group in just minutes. The pregnant group stays in their corner, but all three women are wide awake now. Watching soon rests her hand on Yuna's wrist again, the other women gather around without a word. Mrs. O covers the soup pot while Nari steps away from the medicine shelf. Aaron watches the south rail but listens closely. Keeps one eye on the chat panel and one ear on the doctor. Haynes stands behind his right shoulder. Chisora and Limia Jin join them, sitting right on the outer edge of the circle, half turned away. It is how people sit when they avoid direct looks. The doctor respects this, keeping his eyes away. Instead, he turns his quiet gaze toward the medicine shelf right behind him, gesturing toward it with a quiet hand. He lays out the numbers clearly to the entire group: 6 pregnancy salve jars in total. The 3 pregnant women here have used almost nothing since waking up, just half a jar. He used a similar amount on Choicer's arm. Scraping on the Park family's frostbite, there are 12 frostbite salve jars. Total: 2 used, 4 traded, 6 kept in reserve. Cough syrup, 2 bottles. 1 bottle is down by about a finger since the last tally, which is not a use he ever logged. Warming compresses, they had 12 this morning. Tonight the count is 10, 2 are missing. Fever patches, 1 and a half earlier today, only 1 remains tonight. Half a strip has vanished. He lays the numbers flat on the deck, placing the remaining medicine right where everyone can see it. He names no names. He simply lets a heavy silence settle. The wind rattles the wind wall behind them, making it shift over Bora's shoulder. The chat screen keeps scrolling. Honestly, the tension here is absolutely suffocating. He points out that the 3 pregnant women used less medicine tonight than he gave to the Park family earlier today. Those 3 expecting mothers have not touched the cough syrup because nobody is sick with a cough yet. None of them needed warming compresses because Mrs. O's hot soup warmed them. Up first, the math does not point to the pregnant mothers using everything. What these records actually reveal is that 2 women who are not prioritized took a tiny amount for themselves, preparing quietly in case things go wrong. Sora stares at the deck. Yejin stares at her own hands. He refuses to call them out. Every woman in this tense circle already knows. It is a truth they all share. He speaks to them calmly, declaring that panic is completely allowed here. Panic at the freezing cold, at the mocking chat, at Ryu's military vessel heading north, or at Daniel crosses pinned offer, or even the storm coming in 2 cycles, fearing for 3 pregnant patients. 1 exhausted doctor and a broken heat stone is natural. None of it is a sin. Theft is punished. Stealing from this medicine shelf directly weakens the women whose bodies are doing the heaviest work on this raft tonight, which is gestation. It also drains the vital storm reserve, keeping everyone alive after the storm hits. She lets that sink in, then she declares raft law. 3 rules will be posted publicly tomorrow morning. Rule 1, panic is allowed and never punished. Number 2, theft from shared shelves is punished by visible counting duty until trust is rebuilt, alongside losing all private storage privileges. Rule 3, hand counts for food and medicine. Every single cycle before 2 witnesses, with the count posted on the back of the shelf for all to read. Everyone works according to their ability. Pregnant women rest, trained nurses treat, frightened women count alongside trusted peers until their fear shrinks. Nobody on this raft is useless. Nobody here is invisible. Sora's chin begins to tremble slightly, but her eyes stay locked on the deck. Yejin's hands keep folding and unfolding in her lap. Mio stands at her left shoulder, dead still. Mrs. O stands at her right shoulder with arms crossed. Nari has gone completely silent, which is exactly how Nari gets when she is paying close attention. The pregnant corner is paying close attention too. Sean's hand rests on Yuna's wrist. Jai-Su has lifted her head from her blanket, watching her with her whole face, not with her usual defensive sideways glance. Yuna's sharp eyes stay on her, not on the ring, and her sharp gaze does something she has never seen before, sitting perfectly still on her. Without flinching away, she tells the circle one last point: the 2 women who took something tonight will not be named. Both know who they are. Each has a choice in the next minute. Either step forward, return the items, and sit on counting duty alongside Nari until the storm passes, in which case nothing leaves this circle and nothing goes into a chat post, or stay where you are, and at the next count, if the math does not match, your names get logged in their internal book. The stolen items will be docked from your storm rations, and the log gets posted publicly with proof. A tense moment as she gives them a clean exit. Sora. Steps forward first. She is small and her hands are shaking, but she steps. She pulls a cough syrup bottle from inside her coat, then a warming compress, then a half strip of fever patches. She does not say a single word. Tears run down her face, but she does not wipe them. Yejin steps forward second. She pulls a single warming compress out of her bedroll and sets it on the deck. Next to Sora's stack, her mouth opens once, then twice. She confesses she was terrified. Tomorrow's count would be short, meaning the other three would get more while she got less. The statement is plain. It is honest. It is the kind of honesty you cannot punish without becoming a worse doctor than she ever wants to be. She tells them both that tomorrow's count will not be short. The numbers will be tallied in front of every woman on this raft twice. Both of them are on counting duty alongside Nari until the storm passes. Trust gets rebuilt by visible work. They both keep their blankets, their soup rations, and their warm corners. Nobody loses anything tonight that they need to survive. Sora nods. Yejin nods. Mrs. O, without being asked, walks over and places a hand on each of their shoulders. Briefly, the way an elder gently reassures a terrified young woman who they are trying to do better. Both of them lean into it for half a second, while the ring exhales. Mio writes the raft rules on the back of the medicine shelf with the same blood pencil she keeps in her coat pocket. She writes in clear block letters. Panic is allowed, never punished. Theft is met with a very public counting duty to rebuild trust, along with losing all private storage privileges. Food and medicine are counted by hand every single cycle before at least 2 witnesses. The count is posted. Everyone must work according to their ability. Pregnant women get to rest. These block letters are clean and will stay clean even when the deck gets wet. The pencil mark sinks deep into the wood like good medicine goes into a sick body. The doctor posts these raft laws in the chat under their handle. Minute later, just 3 plain rules, no extra comments, and the chat responds. Much quieter than expected. Several small rafts boost the post. Dr. Victor Hale leaves a silent watcher icon below it. Daniel Cross does not post anything because he refuses to interact with documents stating that people are not for sale. Beverly Pierce posts a sharp comment mocking how cute it is that the burden raft actually has rules, but her jab gets barely any attention and sinks down the scroll. Captain Ryu stays silent. Above water, he is preparing. Bora marks the chat boost on her palm with a small, satisfied stroke. She says nothing. To the doctor, she does not need to. That is when Yuna speaks for the first time tonight, still resting in the warm corner, propped up against a folded blanket, her sharp eyes locked on him. She speaks softly. The words she chooses are simple. She tells him she respects a man who explains the numbers. She does not soften her gaze afterward. It is the same look as always, full of caution, watchful and ready to bolt. But that guarded wall has cracked open just a tiny bit. That watchful stance has shifted half a step toward him instead of pulling away. Her urge to run is still there, but it has conditions now. He whispers his thanks in the same soft voice she used, saying nothing else. The quiet corner exhales once more. Sean's grip on Yuna's wrist finally loosens. Jaisu rests her head. Mrs. O closes the soup pot. Over by the medicine shelf, Nari is already writing down the inventory list with Sora and Ijin sitting cross-legged right beside her. Sora is using both hands to examine the cloth strip. Ijin reads the labels aloud in a low voice while Nari checks the math. The 3 of them operate as a single unit. Within 15 seconds, which is faster than he ever dared to hope, Mio's hand brushes his as she walks past, a faint touch of her knuckles, not even a full second of contact, before she goes to adjust Soon's blanket. He tells Bora to post the trade board update with storm pricing locked, and she is already typing. The wind drops slightly for a brief moment, then picks right back up. The white grave chat warns him that snow is starting east of them, meaning the front of the white wall will crash down on the raft. In a cycle and a half, Bora has the chat alerts ready. Aaron holds the south rail spear steady. Hayen keeps the alcohol oil in a jar at the edge. Mrs. O keeps the soup pot covered. Nari holds the count cloth on her lap alongside 2 former thieves who are now counters. Mio stays in the warm corner. Jaisu is awake and not flinching. Yuna is wide awake, watching him. Sean is fast asleep again. This is actually the best sign he has had all night since the system was quiet. Silence wrapped around her for nearly an hour. It does not last. Soon's hand twitches. She taps her belly twice in a slow, steady rhythm, yet she does not wake up. That twitch does not signal pain. Her hand moved in that exact pattern twice during the previous cycle. When her life pulse sense detected something deep under the ice, he is the only one watching her hand. He crouches beside her without drawing any attention. From the rest of the raft, quietly, he places 2 fingers gently on the back of her wrist. She stays asleep. Her pulse is steady but slightly elevated. Then that pulse spikes, settles, and rises again in the exact rhythm of her twitching hand. Something is out there. It is cold, human, and small. Definitely not a fish school. Not a frost shark. The rhythm is all wrong. Suddenly, Mio is right beside him. Before he can even stand, reading his face instantly, she speaks softly. He whispers back that soon is. Sensing something south of the raft, it is not a fish or a shark, 2 small pulses of cold, human-shaped energy. He plans to scan and confirm. Without arguing, she shifts her body to block him from the view of Cho Sora and Lima Jin, who are still focused on their count, and from Mrs. O, who is busy checking the soup. Nobody else on the raft notices him activate the scan. Inside his head, the system interface blinks to life, requesting a target. He aims south, deep beneath the southern rim of their raft, where the ice lip overhangs. His stamina drops, the world dims. His nose bleeds warm, but he does not flinch. The scan detects 2 human-shaped figures clinging to the underside of the southern lip. They are wearing ice walker gear. Their body temperature is low. Breathing slow, pulses controlled. Frost Fang Scouts, the system label was not in his interface this morning. The system itself must have added that label, as it analyzes chat for the same patterns he has been tracking. Whitegrave has mentioned Frost Fang twice as often this current cycle compared to the previous one. He closes the scan. Blood is running down his face. Mio places her hand on his elbow, studying him, then wipes the blood away. Silently, without making a scene, she asks how many. He whispers back 2 on the southern lip. Clinging to the overhang in ice walker gear, breathing slowly. Neither has boarded. They are listening, reading the deck through the ice. They want to find which corner of the raft has their medicine, where the warm spots are, and where the spear rack is kept. He tells her the plan is simple. They must capture one alive. Using the south rim hook trap, she nods. She does not ask how. She knows he has been discussing this exact trap with Aaron for 2 days now. He crosses the deck toward Aaron, making sure his movement looks completely casual and unsuspicious. He stops near the bone spear rack and pretends to check the lashings. Aaron immediately slides over to his side, south lip. He whispers to her. 2 scouts, ice walker gear, clinging to the overhang. They will capture one alive using the hook trap drilled at the south rim. Hook through the gear, jerk up before he can scream, and pull him over the rim onto the deck flat. Gag him, restrain him, but do not kill. Aaron's mouth twitches slightly at the edge, forming a subtle smile. She has been waiting to use this hook trap for 3 days. Patting the hook already hanging at her hip, she slips away. He does not watch her leave, turning back to the deck to brief Bora. He needs chat noise raised 2 notches, soup updates, and the antidote mentioned. Time finished. Now Bora is typing, and the chat scroll instantly fills with mundane group 27 updates within the next minute, locking the soup prices. Frostbite cure is still offered at standard rates, traded only by Tide Rope. Antidote T is listed with a small reserve. Only polite small raft trades are allowed, no luxury rafts. 3 small rafts respond. The general chat scrolls through their updates like a simple recipe board, meaning absolutely no one is watching their southern rim. Daniel Cross reposts his offer twice, each time with less confidence, showing the classic subtle panic of someone clearly losing an argument. Meanwhile, Beverly Pierce has gone silent for 10 minutes, which feels like her second quiet confession of the night. Captain Ryu's raft drifts slightly north, rocking heavily on its damaged heat core. The wind alone cannot explain this movement, meaning he is aligning his ramming angle. Aaron carefully threads the hook through a small, pre-drilled hole at the southern rim. It was a hole the doctor carved yesterday, completely unnoticed after the system flagged their southern side as the easiest breach point for any stealthy intruder. The bone hook is baited with a small alcohol-soaked rag near its curve, since an intruder clinging to an icy overhang has not felt warmth for hours. His freezing senses will naturally seek out heat, just like a shark drawn to blood. Hain quietly hands the baited rag to Aaron, who receives it in silence. He sparks it a split second before she lowers the hook. The scent drifts below. Under the rim they wait. 10 seconds pass. A sudden lurch rattles the deck. Right before a muffled, wet tear signals the hook catching on the intruder's gear. Right under his arm, Aaron and Hain pull hard. The scout is hauled up over the frozen rim like a caught fish, eyes wide, mouth gaping to scream. Aaron instantly smothers the shout. Mrs. O silently rushes over with a heavy Blanket and a length of coarse rope. The thick blanket goes over his head. The rope wraps tightly around his flailing arms. Within 10 seconds, he is pinned down. Meanwhile, Bora keeps spamming soup updates. The main chat shows no suspicion. They have successfully bagged a Frost Fang scout, and the enemy remains clueless. The doctor crouches beside the captive, pulling off the blanket. The face is surprisingly young. Extremely pale, with severe frostbite forming on his cheeks and cracked, bleeding lips. His eyes are wide, but fear has not set in yet. He has not processed his situation. The doctor lets him think for a brief second. The boy looks at Aaron, who holds it. Bone spear ready, he looks at Hayne, who stands back with a small chemical jar. Waiting silently, he looks at Mrs. O, holding the heavy binding ropes. Finally, he looks directly at the doctor crouched right at his eye level. He finally understands the truth. This raft is not the easy target he was expecting to find tonight. The doctor speaks plainly. He has two choices, and he needs to listen carefully. Choice 1, he reveals who sent him, why they are targeting this raft, and what his gang knows about them. Everything must be fast and completely honest. In return, he gets warm soup, blankets, medicine for his frostbite, and a safe corner. Until the storm passes, then they will drop him off alive on the closest neutral raft. If he chooses option 2, he stays completely silent. There is no time to torture him, nor does the doctor have any desire to do so. But there will be no soup, no blankets either. He will be bound to the south rail, exposed to the freezing wind until the storm hits. No gag is needed, because if he yells, Aaron's spear is ready. Besides, the howling wind will swallow his screams before anyone hears them. So he must make a choice. The boy stares at the doctor, then toward the warm soup pot. The scout looks at Mrs. O's wool blanket, then at the warm corner across the deck where the 3 pregnant women watch him without expression. Then he looks back at the leader. He mutters the word soup, but the leader tells him the soup depends on his answers. Talk first, then soup. He talks now, desperate for any shred of warmth. He has not eaten in 2 days, sitting on a deck that smells like food, salve, and a doctor with steady hands watch him. He talks fast and clean, naming his own gang as the Frost Fang Gang, Southern White Grave Sector, 15 rafts and 3 small flotillas. He explains their captains rotate, and the lead captain for the next attack window is a man named Ren Holloway. They have apparently been scouting Group 27 for 2 cycles. The orders came tonight, so the leader asks him, who sent the orders to scout this raft specifically? For the first time, he hesitates. Seeing this, Mrs. O slides the soup pot back, forcing him to talk much faster. The orders came from Ren Holloway, who got coordinates from a paid tip. The leader presses. A paid tip from whom? He hesitates again, so Aaron lowers her spear slightly. Talk about pressure. The scout quickly reveals the tip came from a white grave chat. Handle on a mid-tier military raft, paid in 2 heat stones, the captain who took. The payment is named in the chat trail as Captain Ryu Dohan. He speaks the name plainly without flinching, completely unaware of what saying that name on this deck just did. The leader quietly instructs Bora to record this, though she was already doing so. The entire time, the moment the blanket came off his head, she was ready. Still, she nods to confirm, following their strict protocol. Then, the leader orders the scout to repeat the name and payment terms slowly and clearly. The scout repeats it, naming Captain Ryu Dohan, 2 heat stones, and coordinates for Group 27. All of it was sold by Ryu Dohan to Ren Holloway of the Frost Fang Gang. At this, Bora's eyes go dead silent in a way they rarely ever do. She angles her recording crystal closer to his mouth, demanding he repeat the name. One last time for absolute clarity, he repeats it. She nods. The recording is officially clean. The leader tells Mrs. O to give him his soup. He drinks like someone who has not felt warmth in 2 days, halfway through. His hands finally stop shaking, while Hayne applies a small dose of frostbite salve to his cheeks. He does not flinch. The leader instructs him to sit at the south corner of the deck under a blanket with rope tied around his arms. Until the storm passes, he must not yell or the deal is off. And he will sit in the freezing wind instead. After the storm, they will drop him off alive on a neutral raft. He nods, finishes his soup, and sits where he is told, keeping perfectly quiet, but the second scout hiding below notices somehow that his partner has not returned. Perhaps he felt the rope tug or noticed a slight change in the deck rhythm above. The second scout bolts, pushing off the edge to run across the southern ice flat. Aaron spots him in the dark by his movement, but she does not throw her spear. She lets him go. A fleeing scout carrying a warning about their quiet raft is actually far more useful. The leader alive than dead, the story he carries is exactly what Ren Holloway needs to hear, that one of his scouts vanished without a single sound, and the other cannot give him any clear details on their deck. Fear travels much faster across cold ice than actual information. Bora quietly cuts the recording. Bora holds off on posting. Sharing it now would only tip Ryu off. The doctor tells her to release the audio under their handle the moment the Frost Fang's first wave of attack hits the southern rim, but not a second before. She nods. The file sits sealed in their panel with it. One tap release. Right now, the White Grave chat has no idea that Captain Ryu Dohen has betrayed them. Everyone will know within the cycle. Bora's mouth forms the very small, flat line it does whenever she gets a clear shot. She does not smile, that comes later. Inside the doctor's head, the system opens and writes a quiet line, no fanfare. A single message reads, "Combat triage. Protocol unlocked." Below that it says, "A doctor does not only save lives after battle, a doctor can decide who survives during battle." He reads both lines twice. The system does not show him a menu. Instead, it grants a natural intuition, just like it did with the medicine shelf the very first time. There is a tiny new corner inside his scan interface, a detail that tells him exactly where a target's body will break in real time, even on a moving target in low visibility. He closes that corner without exploring it. He will need it soon enough, so there is no point wasting precious stamina now. He warns MSO that the next few cycles are going to be harder. She stands at his left shoulder, right where she has been all night, and she does not look surprised. She simply says she knows. He warns her that the Frost Fangs are coming through the whiteout. Ryu sold their location, and the chat will find out within the cycle. She nods. He tells her about his sister on the night the blackout took her, how she asked what it felt like to be a doctor in a dark building with no power and zero heat. Back then, he told her the trick was to do the next correct thing without dwelling on the mistakes of the past. She believed him. The building had been dark for 6 hours. She did not survive another 2. The memory is brief. He lets it pass. Mio's hand gently finds his forearm and stays there for 2 seconds. She softly tells the doctor to do the next correct thing. He tells her that he is. She lets go. The wind picks up a notch. Snow starts. Visibility drops. The White Grave storm warning ticks down, less than half. A cycle remains until the whiteout. The chat scroll starts filling with weather chatter. Bora's panel is buzzing. The captured Frost Fang scout sleeps soundly against the south rail under a wool blanket, breathing steadily, his face slightly less blue. Out on the ice, the second scout runs with a false story. Behind him, the rest of the gang moves toward them in the dark. The doctor gathers the crew without raising his voice. Mrs. O banks the furnace bowl as hot as the half-heat stone allows, which is hot enough to keep the warm corner above freezing for 2 more cycles. Erin pulls the long-boned spear off the rack and slides the close-range one onto her hip. She places a second spear at the western rim where she has been quietly worried about a flank attack. She sets a third spear blank, no head, just the shaft as a pry tool in case they need to lift an intruder off the rim before he can stand. Hayne opens the small armory corner she has been building behind the medicine shelf. The alcohol fire jars are lined up in a row. Beside them, a first batch of smoke powder rests in 2 small paper twists. She places 1 twist at the south rim and 1 at the west. Bora rigs the fake distress signal she has been preparing for 2 days. The signal is a small light beacon mounted on a pole that can rotate without losing connection. A single tap fires it, just 1 tap. She adjusts the angle, aiming it northwest toward the empty ice, far from the raft where the howling wind will carry a fake distress signal completely off the horizon. The beacon stays dark. No light. Bora marks her palm with a single black stroke. The confession remains locked inside, ready for a 1-tap release. Mio organizes the warm corner, moving the 3 pregnant women closer to the back wall, deep under the protective wind barrier. 2 extra blankets cover them, 1 from Mrs. O, 1 from Jang Ha, who has been quietly watching over Jai Su all night. The medical kit sits close by, right at Mio's fingertips. Splints, gauze, alcohol wipes, and the second jar of pregnancy salve, the cough syrup Sora brought back, and the warm compress Ijin returned. Mio lines everything up neatly on a flat cloth. Nari sits across from her, count cloth in her lap, with Sora and Ijin flanking her. The 3 of them work like a perfect unit before the storm front hits. The doctor does 1 final pass across the deck. Aaron's spear lashings hold under his fingers. Haynes' alcohol oil jar is sealed tight. the cork lined with wax for quick lighting. Bora's beacon pole is tilted just below the western horizon, not obvious enough to look like a deliberate setup, but perfect for a raft in distress. Nari has her count cloth folded into thirds over her thigh, while Sora's hands have finally stopped shaking over the labels. Yin's hands still tremble slightly, but she manages to keep working. The doctor pauses at Ijin's shoulder for a moment, telling her that her hands are doing exactly what hands do in this kind of intense work. Do not apologize. She simply nods without looking up. Her hands keep moving, one last round through the pregnancy corner, before sealing it behind the double wind wall. Soon is wide awake, her eyes closed, keeping a hand on her belly. Yuna is awake too, her eyes watching the smoky south room through a gap. Jaisu is awake, staring at her. Hands, all three look up as the doctor's shadow passes. He tells them plainly that the next phase will be loud, though loud is an understatement, since it will mostly be roaring wind. If they hear any man's voice on deck besides his or Aaron's, that person does not belong on this raft. They must stay flat, holding the back wall, pulling Mrs. O's blanket over their heads if he yells the word blanket. So Yan quietly repeats the warning back to him. Yuna nods, Jaisu's eyes never leave her hands, but she whispers that she hears him. He leaves them. Inside the warm enclosure under the heavy wall, Mrs. O seals the inner curtain. Behind him, she banks the furnace bowl up another notch. The half-heat stone glows warmer behind the wind barrier. The pregnancy corner slowly grows a bit warmer. Mrs. O's hands remain red, rough, and incredibly steady. She has not asked him a single question all night. She doesn't need to. Jang Ha stays at Jaisu's left elbow. Chisora is on counting duty alongside Lim Yejin. Hanal, the cardiology evening clerk, has stepped up for water bucket duty without even being asked. Other women each take on a specific role: watchers, blanket rotation, handing off spears or fetching water. 20 women, 20 roles. The deck looks completely normal to a casual observer, but everything has changed. The whiteout's edge crosses the horizon at the half-cycle mark, and visibility plunges the moment it hits. The storm hits. Within 10 minutes, the far edge of their raft is barely visible from the warm corner. By 20 minutes, the south rim is just a gray haze. The wind howls a flat low note. It is not loud, but it is constant, which is the absolute worst kind of howl. It masks every sound a raider makes until they are right on the deck. Bora's chat keeps posting completely ordinary updates: soup, salve, antidote tea, and polite notes to luxury rafts. The public chat sees only a small raft trading calmly into a storm. What they do not see is the Frost Fang flotilla closing in on their southern rim under the whiteout. The first wave comes through the southern edge at the exact moment visibility completely drops. They came expecting frightened women and one tired doctor. They expected to simply step over the rim onto a sluggish deck full of people who would freeze before they ever fought. The first raider clears the rim with a bone hook and a small axe, his gear smelling of fish oil, breath fogging white before him. He scans the south deck, but the deck is completely empty in front of him. Instead, Aaron stands 5 paces back, low to the deck, long bone spear leveled. The raider has half a second to be surprised, then Aaron strikes, the bone scalpel spear drives straight through the weak point at the inside of his right knee joint, where the system flagged a gap in his gear. He drops with a wet sound that the howling wind swallows instantly. Aaron pulls the spear free, steps off his arm, and is back at the edge before the next raider can finish climbing. The second raider takes the spear butt hard under his chin on the way up, pitching backward. Off the edge, Aaron's mouth twitches just a fraction at the corners. She is not smiling. She is in that cold zone where the work is exactly what the work is supposed to be. She is told to take the weapon hand next. She nods. The second wave hits the western edge 3 breaths later. Heian lights the first alcohol fire jar and tosses it underhand. The glass shatters right at the rim. Fur lining on the first western raider instantly catches fire. He falls back off the edge with his arm ablaze. The second western raider catches a splash and retreats to roll out on the ice. After that, the western edge clears for now. Heian lights the second jar at her hip and waits. The smoke powder twists are still untwisted. She is saving them for the third wave. She knows exactly what that third wave is for. Bora taps her control panel. The fake distress beacon lights up at the northwest pole and starts rotating. A quiet, false distress signal goes out across the frozen waste toward the empty horizon. Within 30 seconds, 2 Frost Fang flanks that were swinging around their western flank pivot toward the false Signal, Bora marks the pivot on her palm. The enemy attack splits, both pivoting. Flanks are now running across open ice toward nothing. Talk about a perfect trap. When they get there, the visibility will drop again, leaving them completely lost in the whiteout. Bora taps her panel a second time. The beacon flickers, sending a pattern that reads to a Frost Fang scout like a raft that just sent its very last call. Both flanks accelerate toward empty ice. Menio holds down the warm corner, the three pregnant women are flat against the back wall. Sean's hand rests on her belly. Yuna is half-propped, watching the southern edge with sharp eyes through the haze. Jai-Su is lying flat under a wool blanket, one hand on Sean's ankle, the other under her own belly. Jang-ha sits at Jai-Su's left elbow, palm flat on the wood. Moso's hand is on round the medical kit. No one panics. The howling wind swallows up every other sound on the deck. Inside the wind wall, their warm corner is a safe island. Mrs. O stands at the wind wall edge, a folded wool blanket over her arm. Watching the medicine corner, she does not budge from her post. Suddenly, Chisora takes a glancing cut to her left forearm from a raider's hook coming over the southern rim and missing Aaron. The hook slices her sleeve, cutting a thin line of skin. No scream, she just steps back 2 paces, clutching her arm with wide eyes. Nari is on her before the commander can call across the deck, already in her hands. Her gauze, an alcohol wipe, and a small clamp. The commander shouts out clear, brief orders. Apply pressure with gauze first, then the alcohol wipe once the bleeding stops. Clamp only if the bleeding is arterial. Her hand shakes for a split second. Then her hands steady. She tells Sora to sit, inhale for 4 and exhale. For 6, Sora sits and breathes as Nari applies the gauze. Fortunately, the bleeding is not arterial. Under pressure, the blood slows. Nari follows the protocol. The wound closes. She does not look up at the commander, focused on the work. Everything is done correctly. Lim Yejin has not moved from the medicine shelf. Her hands remain steady on the count cloth, reading off label names for Anari, who is no longer there because Nari is helping Sora. Yejin keeps reading the labels anyway into the wind because the words anchor her hands, keeping them from trembling. Haniel brings a bucket of fresh water up from the small basin near the west wall, handing it to Nari, who uses half a cup to wash the dirt off Sora's sleeve before the gauze goes on. Gel does not say a word, returning to the basin for the next bucket. The third wave hits the southern rim even faster. 3 raiders charge in a tight wedge. Hain ignites the second alcohol fire jar and throws it just inside the rim. Blocking their path, the charging wedge has to step around the fire in middle. As the lead raider hesitates, Aaron pierces his weapon hand. The bone spear drives through the back of his right wrist, hitting a gap in the armor. He drops his axe but keeps moving. The 2 flanking raiders split around the fire, lunging at Aaron from both sides. The commander shouts a rapid, clear command over the wind to hit the left raider's knee. Aaron pivots and strikes the left raider's knee at that exact weak inside joint. The enemy drops. The right raider raises a heavy hook over his head. Meanwhile, another Frost Fang raider slips past the southern rim, sprinting around the back of the wind wall to search for the warm corner. Now watch, because he completely misread this deck. He aims for the rear barrier, rounding the edge of the wind wall only to find the warm corner exactly where the heat radiates. Emerging from the dark, he sees 3 women inside. Spotting Yuna closest, he grabs her wrist. The commander cannot tell which wrist is grabbed, as he is busy fighting the third wave at the southern rim while shouting out orders. He does hear Jinha shout once before cutting herself off and catches a sudden, fast movement from the corner of his eye that is neither Mio nor Jai-Su. Instead, it is the shadow of a massive man. The commander spots Yuna's body twisting directly toward the attacker instead of fleeing. The intruder has misjudged her completely, believing he has captured a helpless victim. Instead, he has grabbed a woman who has spent 3 months waiting to shatter the wrist of any man large enough to be a threat to her unborn child. He drags her, but she refuses to scream. Her wrist cracks under his grip. He hears it from across the deck, a clean, dry, small sound that the wind almost swallows. She refuses to collapse. Her free hand goes up and catches his thumb at the joint, bending it backward against the joint with both her shoulders behind the motion. Talk about badass. His grip opens. He yells the first shout of the fight. Mrs. O moves before he can react, crossing the warm corner edge with the folded wool blanket and throws it over his head from behind. Mio's hand is already on Yuna's shoulder, pulling her clear. Jang Hayami stands between the corners, keeping her back turned to The three women talk about pure grit. Her wrist is broken, yet she stays upright. Her face has gone completely pale in the cold, her sharp eyes turning deathly still. She refuses to collapse. She refuses to sit. Instead, she holds her broken wrist with her good hand close to her chest to protect it, stepping half a pace forward instead of retreating. Suddenly, the system inside his head starts to shift. Pain lock awakens. A quiet text line writes itself across his scan interface, appearing in the quiet font of Combat Triage Protocol. A mother can choose to lock her own pain down to protect her unborn child. The cost is delayed. Words pass, but Yuna never looks back at him. She stares at the raider with the blanket over his head and Mrs. O's rope wrapping around his arms. She does not flinch. He runs the scan. He has been saving precious stamina for on the third wave. Wedge finally opening the weak point scan. The cost is high. His nose runs warm again. His vision dims then sharpens. A new corner of the interface lights up inside his head, showing him a brilliant 1-second flash of the three raiders at the south rim in clinical detail. Weapon hands, left. Knees, tired shoulders, bad footing on the wet deck where hands. Alcohol fire melted the frost. He spots rope lines on their gear. Belts, thin ice 50 paces back where one of them crossed. The third wave. Wedge stops being a simple shape in his head and becomes a list sorted by reach. Below his interface, a line writes weak point scan unlocked. The cost is stamina, sight, and shaking hands. He reads it once, then calls across the wind in the same clipped voice he used when telling Nari to apply gauze. The orders are not for him. Each goes directly to Aaron. Hain in the rim. Weapon hand. Aaron takes the weapon hand off the right raider with a clean strike across the back of the wrist. Left knee. Hain lights the third alcohol fire jar and rolls it under the left raider's knee on the wet deck. He goes down. Thin ice west. Northwest 50 paces hold. Bora taps her panel and the false distress beacon flickers a second pattern that sends the two pivoting flanks across the thin hatch. Two of them go through. The wind eats their screams. Cut the rope south rim middle lashings. Hain flicks her belt knife across the gear lashings of the middle raider as he tries to right himself, and his lower body armor drops to his knees and he is encumbered and on the ground. Tired shoulder west rim. The west rim raider's left shoulder is hanging an inch lower than his right. The way an overworked deltoid hangs when a man has been swinging a hook all night. Aaron pivots to the west rim and takes him through the shoulder at the joint cap. He drops. Rope line, south rim corner lift, Mrs. O and Jangai. Together, they pry up the rope line at the south corner with a headless spear shaft. A frost fang raider trying to climb the southwest joint of the rim gets his foot caught in the line and falls back into the cold. Bad footing. The west rim is slick. The raider Hain has been worried about misjudges the wet patch and goes down on his hip. Aaron is on him with a close range bone spear before he can roll. The orders fly from the leader's mouth as fast as the scan can sort them. He doesn't invent or chant. He simply reads and calls them out. Weapon hand, left knee, thin ice, bad footing. Cut the rope, tired shoulder. Rope line. The women on the deck do not need to know the why. Each one only needs to know the where and the what. Aaron is the long edge of the orders. Hain is the burning edge. Bora is the seeing edge with the false distress and the chat noise and the recording sealed in her panel. Mio, Mrs. O, and Jang. Haim are the holding edge at the warm corner. Nari is the medical edge at Sora's elbow. The deck moves the way a deck moves when 20 women have been waiting a long time for a man with a hook to come over the rim. A final frost fang push collapses inside 3 more minutes. 2 raiders lie dead at the south rim, one from Aaron's knee strike and one from the rope line that brought him down into the cold under the ice. 4 raiders are captured alive on the deck. 3 at the south rim and 1 in the warm corner who is wrapped in Mrs. O's wool blanket with rope around his arms. The rest of the frost fang flotilla retreats into the whiteout, dragging 2 of the burned and 1 of the wounded. Those 2 flanks Boris sent across the thin ice never come back. The wind eats whatever last sounds they make. Group 27 has no dead. Yuna's wrist is broken and stable. Chisora's forearm is closed under gauze. The 3 pregnant women are all breathing slow and warm at the back of the warm corner. Each of the 10 background women is upright. Their medicine shelf is intact. Inside the bowl, the furnace is hot. A wind wall has tilted half an inch and settled. The whiteout is at its thickest and starting to thin. The wind has dropped 1 notch. The storm front has passed over them and they've come out the other side. Around them, the deck is wet with melted blood. it is also still. There's, the leader lets himself sit for the first time in 2 cycles on the edge of the storage box. His hands are shaking. His nose is bleeding more than he wants to admit. The weak point scan corner of the interface has closed itself for him. Without his asking, because the system has noticed, he is at the bottom of the stamina line. His world dims for a second and then comes back. Mio is at his left shoulder with a folded cloth in her hand. She does not say anything. She takes his wrist and turns his hand palm up and lays the cloth across the back of his. Knuckles, sit, she tells him the way she said it before. He sits. She does not move her hand for a long count, then she goes to Yuna. Yuna has not sat down, still standing at the warm corner. She holds her broken wrist at chest height and her sharp eyes on the south rim in case the rim sends another raider. Mio tells her. Sit. Yuna sits. Mio splints the wrist with the small splints from the medical kit. She splints with both hands, one to hold the bone in alignment, the other to wrap the cloth strips. Yuna does not flinch. The wrist is bad, a break is clean. Mio's hands are good, the splint is correct. Yuna's sharp eyes are on. He watches Mio's hands the entire time, observing her work closely. It is like someone who knows how to break a bone watching someone set it. The captured raiders lie on the south rim under blankets, tied up with ropes. They are bound just like the first scout in the south corner, while Mrs. O rations the soup pot. The 4 new prisoners receive a half cup each, under the same conditional terms as that first scout. Bora records the second confession right now from the largest of the 4. He talks even faster than the scout did because his hands shake from the freezing cold, while his hot soup cools right in front of him. The giant prisoner confirms the scout's story word for word. Captain Ryu Dohan and 2 heat stones. The coordinates were sold. Ren's Hollow took the payment, and the Frost Fang gang attacked under the storm, expecting an easy target. He tells Bora to upload both audio files to the chat, marking the second one as clear confirmation of the first. She is already typing. The audio files go public under the Group 27 account inside 30 seconds. The White Grave chat sees them instantly, and the endless scroll that was just buzzing with whether chat and small trades suddenly freezes completely. For the third time tonight, everything comes to a grinding halt. Talk about a massive reality check. The audio plays. Captain Ryu Dohan sold the coordinates of Group 27 for 2 heat stones to Ren's Hollow of the Frost Fang gang. 2 voices from separate captives, same name, identical terms. The public chat slowly begins moving again once the second recording finishes. The first comment comes from a medium raft account he does not recognize. It asks if Captain Ryu Dohan really sold a clinic raft with 3 pregnant women to ruthless raiders for 2 lousy heat stones. Below that, a small raft he helped earlier today replies with a simple yes. Next is the Silent Watcher icon from Dr. Victor Hale, followed by a sharp jab from Beverly Pierce that gets quick approval and fades away. Ryu's reputation crashes in the chat feed like a heavy heat core when its mounting fails, fast, leaving a long trail of burning wreckage. Small rafts flood the channel. Everyone wants answers. Mid-sized rafts post the Silent Watcher icon. 2 luxury rafts allied with Daniel Cross post absolutely nothing, which is far worse for Ryu than any angry comment. Because silence from the elite means a man is being quietly written off as useless. Daniel Cross stays completely silent. Beverly Pierce does not say a word for a long time, and Captain Ryu Dohan posts nothing. His public presence goes completely quiet for the rest of the cycle. Instead, he direct messages the doctor privately, asking if he honestly thinks he has one. The contextless message sits in his private panel. He reads. No reply. He simply files the message away and closes the window. Bora is already screenshotting the direct message in case Ryu tries to deny it later. The proof goes into her panel alongside the audio files. Ryu is no longer a public threat to Group 27 for at least this cycle, because the public chat has done his job for him. Those private threats will have to be dealt with later. Tonight is not that time. The deck is quiet. Now when the howling wind outside has dropped a bit, the heavy storm has thinned out, by half, bringing visibility back to 10 paces. The Frost Fang raiders are long gone. The captured raiders are securely bound, rationed, and scheduled to be dropped off on a neutral raft once the storm passes. Suddenly, the system writes a glowing line across the inside of his head, written in that exact same quiet system font. Raft upgrades are finally available, and a new list begins to unfold right below. A clinic cabin, insulated walls, clean water, and a private pregnancy room. A small armory and training corner. The doctor reviews the list twice, letting upgrades roll. Out slowly, look closely at the south rim. They sit shivering under wool blankets. Mrs. O stands over the soup pot, strictly deciding who deserves a second half cup. Two of the four are bleeding lightly from joint hits, and Nari steps up. Having finished dressing Sora's forearm, she comes over with gauze to treat both wounds. She bandages them silently. Neither raider utters a single word while she works. One of them watches her hands like a man seeing something entirely unexpected. On a deck they were supposed to be looting, staring with sheer, quiet confusion. A confusion that is slowly shifting. Nari finishes applying the gauze and steps back. Mrs. O hands the worst bleeding raider a half cup of soup, which he drinks. Slowly, he does not say thank you, but his trembling hand steadies slightly. He hands the cup back and Mrs. O takes it. Nearby, Erin stands on guard. Gripping her long bone spear, she watches the captured four and scans the horizon. For any sign of the frost fangs returning, her stony face has not twitched. Since the final raider fell, the doctor walks over, standing right beside her shoulder. Without looking at him, she says he called the defensive orders incredibly cleanly. The doctor replies that she executed the kills just as cleanly, without hesitation. She mentions her arm is sore. He tells her to sit down within 10 minutes. And let Mio inspect her shoulder. She insists she will only after the rim is clear. He demands it happen immediately after, with no delays. Erin nods silently. Her free hand flexes once before settling back on her spear. He leaves her to guard. He goes to find Mio, who has just finished splinting Yuna's wrist inside. Now she stands by the warm curtain, checking Soon's pulse for the fourth time. Soon is finally asleep with hands on her belly. Mio presses her hand. Flat against Soon's wrist, she holds it there for a long beat, then pulls back. It is steady, she reports. He nods. She then turns her attention to Jaisu. Jaisu sits against the back wall, holding 4 neatly folded baby blankets. Her eyes are red but completely dry. Mio says nothing and simply sits beside her. She leans her shoulder against Jaisu, who leans back in silent comfort. Neither speaks. After a minute, Mio stands and crosses to the doctor at the door. Her hand gently brushes his elbow as she passes, whispering that the cozy spot will hold safely through the cold night. He thanks her and she nods back. The clinic cabin continues building itself at the western section of the deck. Where the medicine shelf stood, thick, insulated wooden walls slowly assemble themselves. A low ceiling and a small latched door form. Soon, the medicine shelf shifts. Inside the cozy cabin, right beside it, the medical kit settles onto a shelf. The space is just large enough for the doctor, a nurse, and one bed. A plain, wood-framed bed appears, topped with a thin mattress from the system. Seeing the bed form, Mio pauses her splinting of Yuna's wrist to stare. She stares for a brief second before going back to work. This cabin won't stay empty for long. An insulated wall begins building along the southern wind wall, doubling its thickness right behind the section where the warm corner is set up. Inside, the warm corner gets 4 degrees warmer within 10 minutes. Soon, who has been awake this whole time, exhales a soft breath as Jaisu's hand finally settles. She rolls off her belly and lies flat on the deck beside her. Yuna's sharp eyes close once, slowly then open again, watching Mincio finish the splint. Jang Hai tucks the wool blanket tighter under Jaisu's shoulder and stays right at her elbow. The clean water basin builds at the west rim where the small basin used to be. Its volume doubles in size. Now it filters its own water through a small charcoal and cloth filter. The system is fabricated from the broken sled engine. In the Frost Fang loot, Hanel on water bucket duty looks at the new basin for a long time and then starts moving the water buckets to the new basin without comment. Mrs. O nods at her once. Gil nods back. The waterwork continues. Private pregnancy room builds in the corner where the warm corner has been. Inside it is small, low ceiling, insulated with a curtain instead of a door. 3 thin mattresses fit inside. The curtain is rough cloth sewn from the salvage Mrs. O has been hoarding for 2 days. Seo Yan, Yuna, and Jaisu are moved. Inside, one at a time, she walks. Then Yuna walks, broken wrist splinted. Sharp eyes on the floor. Jaisu is helped in by Jang Hai. Slow steps. The curtain closes behind them. Inside, the room is warm, dim, quiet. Outside, the wind is dropped to a whisper. The small armory builds behind the medicine cabin on a wall opposite the bone spear rack. Inside, it holds spears, alcohol, fire jars, smoke, powder, twists, a small store of metal blades from the Frost Fang loot. Aaron and Hain take inventory together inside the first half hour. Training corner builds along the north flat of the deck. Flat boards, a sturdy host for spear practice, a small target board, 2 strap loops for grip strength. Work. Erin's face does not move when she sees it, but her shoulders drop half. Notch. The system writes one more line in a different font, a line the doctor has not seen before. It reads Combat Efficiency Ranking Active, Group 27 Regional. Position middle tier. The doctor reads it twice. Now the system is publicly tracking low casualty victories alongside the brute combat rank. The chat is about to go absolutely wild. The ranking in the next refresh. Refresh comes 30 seconds later. Group 27 appears in the middle of the combat efficiency board, alongside rafts twice and 3 times our size. Beverly's piercing barbs from earlier tonight have already fallen. Off the scroll, Daniel Cross has not posted in over a cycle. Bore his mouth. Moves the small flat thing. Doctor, she says, half the mocking just went silent. The doctor tells her the other half pivoted to curiosity. She nods. 2 private DMs have already come in from midsize rafts, asking about Group 27's training methods. Bora marks them for later. Dr. Victor Hale sends a second private DM. 2 lines this time. Line 1, you're going to start scaring people, doctor. Second, be ready. The doctor reads it and does not reply, filing Hale under polite watcher. Watching, which is a different file from polite watcher watching. Hale is doing the thing dangerous polite people do, which is offer one piece of useful intelligence to see if you will trade for the next one. The doctor will not trade yet. The cabin door latches behind Mincio as she steps inside with the medical kit. Yuna is on the bed. Seo Yan and Jai Su are in the pregnancy room with the curtain closed. Mincio lays the splinted wrist across a small folded blanket and props. It's slightly above heart level. She tells Yuna to sleep if she can. Yuna does not close her eyes. Instead, she calls out for the doctor. Mincio turns to get him. Already at the cabin doorway, Yuna looks at him. Doctor, she calls out softly. Just like earlier, blunt, she says she is working for him now. No softening, no explanation. The doctor simply offers his thanks, keeping it brief. He says nothing else. There is no need. Her eyes hold that exact same look. The one from outside the clinic 3 hours ago, back when she admitted her respect. Respecting the harsh math, but now, things have shifted even further. Still wary, still watchful, but that urge to run is entirely gone. She chose this raft. Now she waits, letting the heavy burden settle. He is the healer she decided on, not someone she is forced to tolerate. With that, he leaves. The latch clicks shut. He walks toward the ward. The curtain to the private room is drawn. He leaves it closed, talking through the wood. He assures Jaisu she is safe. She has a wall and warmth now. The doctor stands right outside this curtain. He tells her to sleep. Thank you, doctor, she whispers back. Her voice is soft and clear. Jaisu stays quiet. A long beat passes, then she calls for him. He answers. She asks about the raider in the corner who grabbed Yuna. She is terrified because he saw them and saw the babies. The doctor reassures her. He is tied up, rationed. He will be dropped off after the storm. He will never see her again. She whispers her thanks. He steps away. Stepping onto the open deck, he finds the loot Eren collected from the raiders. Everything is laid out on a cloth right next to the small armory. 6 rock-hard food blocks wrapped tight, 3 squares of heat cloth. Each piece is the size of a shirt, perfect for a warming chest patch. 4 short metal blades are laid out, incredibly useful for survival chores. From gutting fish to cutting ropes, they do it all, plus 2 ice hooks. The kind that bite with a quick twist, and finally 4 baby blankets. Small, clean, and lined with soft fur, clearly stolen by the raiders. Thugs do not buy baby gear, they just steal it, a grim survival detail. Suddenly, Jaisu slips out. The curtain swings softly as she steps out. She stops at the pile and crouches down over those soft baby blankets. Reaching out, she gently touches the soft fur. She picks one up, cradling it tightly. She presses it against her chest. No tears, absolute heavy silence. Zhang Heimi silently approaches and kneels beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. Jaisu leans her face into her friend's shoulder, just for a second. Then she pulls back, looking at the doctor. Very quiet, she notes. He crouches beside her. She asks if this blanket can be theirs. Can they keep them all? Yes, the doctor tells her, every single one. All 4, she grips the fabric tighter, saying nothing more. With the folded blankets cradled in her arms, she heads back inside. The curtain swings shut. Through the fabric, he can hear Soon speaking softly. Soon calls her name gently, followed by Yuna's voice from her cabin. Yuna is sharper but not unkind. these three are finally settling. Menso steps out onto the deck and finds the doctor still by the lute. Sit, she tells him. He complies. She brings over a folded cloth. This time she has added a small dose of warming salve for his hand. The salve has a faint scent. She lays the cloth over his knuckles. His hands stop. Shaking after about a minute, Mio does not move from where she sits on the deck beside the storage box. She leans her shoulder against his for one count, then she leans back. She does not say anything. He does not either. There is no romantic meaning in the line, only the simple physical fact that she has been on her feet for 14 hours, and so has he, and the shoulder lean costs nothing and leaning back costs nothing. Mrs. O sets a small cup of soup in front of each of them without being asked. The soup is hot. He drinks half and hands the rest to Nari, who has finally sat down beside the medicine cabin. Doorway. Nari drinks it without ceremony. Her count cloth is folded under her arm. The count for the cycle is correct. A trademark panel pings under her handle 3 times in quick succession. 3 more small rafts requesting emergency medical contact in the next cycle. 2 for frostbite. 1 for what sounds like a possible miscarriage on a raft he has never heard of. Bora reads the requests out loud quietly. Frostbite 1 and 2 standard. Salve trade tide rope drop. Fine. Miscarriage raft handle haying me 3. Position approximately 30 paces north-north-northwest. He tells Bora to route the miscarriage call to him directly. No trade, free consultation. Send Hain. With the salve, Bora marks it. The salve goes out within 10 minutes by tide rope. Drop. Routing for the miscarriage consultation goes through a private chat panel with the unknown raft. He will handle it inside the cabin. Mio is already standing. She nods at him once. She goes inside the cabin to prepare the second mattress. Bora reads the requests off her panel one more time and adds. Bora tells him that 2 of the small rafts asking boosted their raft law post earlier tonight. Both are paying attention. Each is asking small polite. No luxury demands. He tells her to mark them as repeat polite contacts. She nods. Her color wheel on her palm has 3 small new strokes. By the time she finishes marking, a polite trade economy is forming on their handle, slow but real. And the slower kind is the kind that matters in a storm. Mrs. O comes out from inside the warm corner curtain with a wool blanket folded over her arm. Small kettle in her other hand. She sets the kettle on the furnace bowl rim. A half-heat stone glow can keep it warm. She tells him that the second pot is going to run low by morning unless they land a fish hole tomorrow. He tells her Bora is already scoping the southern thin patch where Soon felt the school earlier, and Aaron is going to lead a small daylight hook party once the visibility comes back. Mrs. O nods. She tells him that he has not eaten since the soup 3 hours ago. He tells her he will. After Voss, she tells him no. Before Voss, she puts a small bowl of broth in his hand. He drinks it. She watches him drink it the whole way down. Then she takes the bowl back and goes to bank the furnace bowl one final notch. Lena Frost messages him at the same moment. Polite, careful, Dr. 27. She has a white grave drift map, complete with current flows, neutral raft positions, and frost fang last known territory marked. The map costs 4 food blocks or 1 heat cloth. Square tide rope drop accepted. Her offer is plain. What she has is exactly what he needs for the cycle after the storm. Her price is reasonable. Lena is also the woman who, the chat tells him, leaks things to test buyers. Ju reads the direct message twice. He does not respond yet. He files her under polite broker with leak history. Bora marks her on the palm with a slow line. That is when a new chat panel opens. The handle is one Ju has not seen tonight. Its name is Dr. Malcolm Voss. His handle is posted at the top of the white grave regional chat scroll with a small pin icon. That means a verified raft is asking for chat attention. The post is long but compressed in Ju's eyes through the system because the interface reads chat threads for him in summary form. When the threads get long, summary through his eyes runs like this. Voss introduces himself as the senior doctor of the White Hospital Raft, regional medical contribution rank top 3. After that, he congratulates Group 27 on the survival of the frost fang raid. Then he says he has been watching Ju's medical contribution rise on the public board. Finally, he demands access to Ju's treatment data. The compression continues in his head. He demands proof that resources are not being spent on what his own charts call low survival passengers. Then he implies that a doctor treating 3 pregnant women on a cracked raft during the cold weather ice sky phase of White Grave is hoarding people, not saving them. after that he attaches a chart from his own raft. The chart compares the survival rates of pregnant patients in cold weather, ice-sky conditions against the survival rates of combat-fit recruits. Its math is weighted. It is damning. If you do not know how to read it, most of the chat will read it without knowing how. Ju reads the post twice. The chat reaction is immediate even through the compression. Beverly Pierce reappears in the chat for the first time in over a cycle and posts a small heart icon under Voss's chart. Daniel cross-likes Voss's chart with a small approval mark, the first public action Daniel has taken since Mio's refusal. 3 luxury rafts that have been silent post the silent watcher icon under the chart, but the silent watcher under Voss's chart is a different kind of silent watcher from the one under Mio's raft law post, because this watcher is paying attention to a chart that calls Ju's patience low survival, and the attention is the kind that fixes a label. Then a new icon appears in the chat panel, small, gold-edged, half-closed. The icon is a single eye partly closed, posted under Voss's chart with no comment attached. To the eye, the handle reads Stellan's Holy Cradle Fleet. St. Ellen has not posted in white grave chat tonight at any point that Ju has seen. The eye icon is the first action. It does not say anything, just a silent watcher with a different meaning from the others. Its meaning is that St. Ellen has now noticed Group 27 and St. Ellen is looking. Bora's mouth, which has been doing the small flat thing all night, goes flat in a different way. She marks the eye icon with a long dark stroke on her palm. Voss's chart is pinned to the top of the regional chat scroll. Beverly Pierce pins it from her end, too, with a small comment underneath that reads, "The burden raft will surely have a clean answer to a fair chart." Daniel crosses like sits next to her pin. St. Ellen's eye icon dims very slowly from half-closed to almost closed and stops just shy of fully shut. The eye icon is now a thing the chat scrolls past 3 times a cycle. White grave is waiting for Group 27's response. Ju does not. Not yet. He decides to wait, staring at Yuna's splinted wrist instead. She is finally sleeping in the doorway, her splint propped above her heart. His gaze drifts to the closed curtain of the crowded pregnancy room. Stolen blankets now wrap the 3 pregnant women inside. He spots Mio. After finishing the second mattress, she fell asleep against the wind wall. Her head tilts sideways near the cabin doorway. He reviews their supplies. 4 food blocks, 3 heat cloths, 4 metal blades, and 2 ice hooks. Their baby blankets rest on the loot strip. He checks the shelves. Spears, the small armory, and the training corner. Memory pulls him backward. Long ago, his sister was a helpless patient in a hospital ward. On the wall behind the desk, the senior doctor kept a chart. At the top of one column was a term he did not know. Deprioritized by triage, his sister's name was written right below those words. That polite physician had called him over alongside a younger doctor. The young doctor had just realized whose name sat in that column. Sounded reasonable then, but the hospital lost power 6 hours later. His sister never saw the morning light, but that chart remains forever. He lets the painful memory slide away, opening the system chat interface. A cursor blinks quietly beneath Voss's pin chart. Beverly Pierce has responded. Her arguments run 3 posts deep, while Daniel Cross likes the chart. St. Elian's spectator eye glows faintly, refusing to close. Everyone is asleep. Mano, Yuna, and Soon keep watch in the cabin. Soon keeps a comforting hand on Jai Su's ankle during the night. Snow keeps falling. It is lighter now, but steady against the wall. It is a relentless, suffocating white that refuses to leave. Bora steps up silently. She silently reads the glowing system chart over his shoulder for hours. She whispers quietly that the columns are wrong on 3 distinct counts. Surviving pregnancy is not a fixed statistic. It requires warmth and medicine. His calculations completely ignore trust and fairness, things that keep people alive. The chart only counts the first week of survival for new recruits. That is when recruits look strongest, while pregnant patients seem weakest. He cuts the window short on purpose, completely omitting the civilization score. Yet the system has tracked that civilization score since the wake up. The chat has displayed it for 12 hours. He agrees with her completely. He tells her to write those 3 counts down for their reply. She begins writing. Hain then approaches his shoulder with a count cloth. Standing by the medical cabin, she notes the survival math is flawed. It compares the patients to recruits purely on a physical strength axis. But the real survival metric for this clinic raft is the storms. Keeping babies intact through 3 storms requires a completely different kind of math. This survival math will favor their raft over his in 2 cycles. If their furnace bowl holds out, he instructs her to record that. She immediately scribbles the details down with a worn, blunt pencil. It is the same pencil used for their laws. Nari stands watching. Quiet until now, she steps forward with a folded count cloth. She says this chart is identical to the one the senior doctor in his training hospital used to teach them triage with identical columns and the same weighting. He used to say every column is a choice about whose life counts. He used to say never look at the column without asking who built it. He looks at her for a long beat, then tells her to write that down too. She nods, already writing. Then Yuna calls from the cabin softly through the open doorway. Calling for him, he crosses over. She is awake, her splinted wrist propped up, her sharp eyes fixed on him. She tells him plainly. The chart he posted is the exact chart the man who hurt her used to defend himself in court, the same kind of chart, the same columns, and the same kind of waiting. He had a doctor who wrote charts for him, and that doctor used the phrase low survival 3 times in the deposition. Tell the doctor on the chat, she says, that the women on charts like that have names. She does not say anything else. Her sharp eyes do not flinch. He promises her he will, leaving the cabin doorway with her words heavy in his pocket. His hand is poised over the chat panel. The reply field is open and a cursor blinks. Beside it, the chart glows. Next to the chart, Daniel crosses avatar, and past that, St. Eliot's half closed. I now look, the entire white grave chat has completely stopped moving for the 4th time. Tonight, waiting on group 27's reply to a chart with a column at the top labeled low survival, with the names of 3 pregnant women already placed somewhere. In that column, his hand hovers over the keyboard without pressing a single key. His hand hovers there for one more breath, and then he begins to type, not fast and not emotional. The reply field opens under Voss's pinned chart, the cursor blinking at him like a small invitation to lose his temper, but he refuses the invitation. He writes a single line at the top of the reply. Dr. Voss, Raft Group 27, thanks you for the public review. Then he drops 1 space and begins to post their numbers. Plain, unweighted, easy for any cold tired person reading by furnace light to follow without help. Below that line, he posts their actual survival outcomes for the last 2 cycles. 0 casualties across 2 combat events, 1 frost shark provocation and 1 frost fang raid, both managed by Group 27 personnel. Food yield from the Southern Fish School expressed in standard food blocks per cycle, listed plain. Treatment counts for the cycle broken down into frostbite, lacerations, concussion observation, and prenatal observation, listed plain. Raft law compliance numbers: theft incidents 0, panic incidents 3, resolved without any punishment. Food counts and medicine counts are verified twice before 2 witnesses every cycle. He posts the numbers without a single adjective. System reads his reply from the inside out, line by line as he keeps typing. Bora reads over his left shoulder for a long count, telling him, Doctor. The chart he posted compares fixed columns to fixed columns, but they are posting outcomes against outcomes. That is the right shape. She marks her palm. Hain reads over his right shoulder and tells him, Doctor, hold the next paragraph for the axis. Mention only the 3-storm window. Anything else gets attacked. He nods. Nari, watching from the medicine cabin doorway, reads from a small distance and tells him, Doctor, end the post with the chart builder line. People will repeat it. He writes that chart builder line at the bottom, every column. A chart is always a choice about whose life actually counts. Never look at those columns without asking who built them. The post goes live, and the chat does what it always does when a reply is unexpected. A brief pause. First comes a quiet stream of silent watcher icons. Then the first real reactions appear. 3 small rafts he does not recognize, just like the post itself. Tom reads polite trader. Account drops a single line right under it. He says their own raft can vouch for the salve in that count. The Park family raft posts a quick thank you for the salve they received last cycle. Then, Dr. Victor Hale stays totally silent in public, but his private message to him, a fresh line, lands on his panel. Hale says plain numbers were the right call, telling him to keep that voice. Hale says nothing else, but soon Beverly Pierce surfaces under the post with a long comment in pretty fonts. Calling it a charming reply, she writes that anyone with a calculator can easily see those numbers are doctored. The small raft count is suspiciously round, the casualty count is suspiciously 0, and a clinic raft on a cracked deck claiming a fish block yield like that has either lied about the yield or hidden the fact that they are raiding small rafts to inflate it. Daniel Cross likes Beverly's comment with the same small, metal-like approval. Marky gave Voss, then Daniel Cross posts a short laugh in chat for the first time in 2 cycles, just 3 small letters. The laugh sits right beside the chart. St. Ellen's half-closed eye does not move. He does not answer Beverly. The thing about a Beverly Pierce comment in White Grave chat on a night when a real chart is on the table is that answering her is exactly what she wants. She lives in the reply field, not in the actual outcomes. He simply lets her comment scroll. Bora marks her palms slowly. The small rafts that light his reply are still liking. Dr. Victor Hale's silent watcher icon, the polite one, is still active. Beverly's comment loses 2 likes from rafts he has seen before and Daniel Cross's amplifier line, who quietly back away when no one fights them. The chat is doing its slow title thing. That is when a public alert scrolls across the top of the panel in a new color. White Grave's storm warning system has upgraded its alert from snow squall to plague warning. The text reads dirty snow moss. Plague observed in 4 small rafts within a southern arc, spreading. Symptoms are described in the simple words White Grave. Chat uses so nobody from any region misunderstands. Fever, hard breathing, weak pulse, and wounds that turn bad and never heal. The alert ends with a single line. Treatment is unknown. The storm warning panel pins the alert at the exact same height as Voss's chart. Now, there are 2 pinned posts at the top of the regional chat. The chat reacts instantly. Rafts that were just arguing about the chart begin sending private messages to each other in chains. His chat panel only sees as side flashes. 2 small rafts that liked his plane numbers post a moment ago fall silent in the open chat and ping him directly. One has a fever case. The other asks if anyone has seen a plague case before. Dr. Victor Hale's polite, silent watcher icon stays active, but he stops pinging him. St. Ellen's half-closed eye stays where it is, watching the alert and the chart together. Beverly Pierce, via her account, posts a second line, calm and pretty. Now is the time for cool heads and senior medical leadership. Voss reacts with an approval of Beverly's line. His handle posts a new public statement immediately under the plague alert. He pins up his clean triage chart again, revealing the cold columns of survival. Fit for combat, food contributors, builders, fighters, medical staff, and finally, low survival. Below that chart, he posts a brutal public policy for the White Hospital. The raft will only treat plague cases on the receipt of upfront payment. Accepted payments are listed in a calm font: food blocks and desperate workers ready to join the White Hospital crew or sealed medicine territory rights. Long drift lanes. The post ends with a single line: sentiment is not a strategy. Beverly Pierce pins the policy under her own handle, and Daniel Cross likes it. Without comment, the doctor reads this twice, knowing the harsh reality of their world. He turns toward the deck. Bora stands at his shoulder, warning him about the 4 small rafts in the southern arc. They will not survive this plague cycle. On the triage map, those 4 sit 40 to 70 paces away, drifting fast. Their paths are plotted. 3 belong to people they spoke with politely tonight, he tells her to mark them all, tag their handles, and route their private pings straight to him. She marks them. Bora's color wheel sprouts a small cluster of strokes in a brand new color she has never used before. He does not ask what the color means. She will tell him when she is ready. Hayne has already moved to the medicine shelf, sorting. She tells him they only have a quarter jar of frostbite salve, 3/4 of the warning salve, a quarter jar of smoke powder, and 2/3 of the alcohol wipes. Finding an antidote depends entirely on whether they can find the source. The doctor tells her the source is the